When a feared Korean Mafia boss noticed the fresh bandage on his black assistant's face, he made a decision that would ignite a war across Los Angeles. What started as protection became possession, what began as safety transformed into surrender, and what looked like salvation was about to become the most dangerous gamble of their lives. She thought escaping one monster would free her. She never imagined she'd fall for another one. But when her diabetic teenage sister becomes the target, and when rival gangs decide that love makes the perfect weapon, Amara Brooks will discover that sometimes the only way to survive a predator is to trust an even deadlier one. The bandage will heal, but the choices she's about to make will scar them all forever. Subscribe and tell me in the comments, have you ever had to choose between the devil you know and the one you don't? Because this story is about to prove that sometimes the most dangerous place to hide is in plain sight. The elevator climbed 30 floors in silence. Amara Brooks kept her head down. Her fingers pressed the concealer against the bandage on her cheek. The makeup felt thick. It tugged at the edges of gauze hidden beneath her hair. The doors opened with a soft chime. She stepped into the glass corridor of CO Industries. Her heels clicked against marble. The sound echoed off floor-to-ceiling windows that framed downtown Los Angeles in morning light. Amara felt nervous. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She didn't look. The conference room sat empty, except for polished chairs arranged around a black table. She moved quickly to her station by the windows. Files spread across the surface in neat stacks. Contracts for review. Meeting notes typed and printed. Everything prepared exactly as Seo Jae-min expected. Her reflection caught in the glass. The bandage showed despite her efforts. She tugged her hair forward and checked the clock. 5 minutes until he arrived. Heavy footsteps approached in the hallway. Amara's chest tightened. She focused on the documents. Her hands moved efficiently through the papers. Organization calmed her mind. The door opened without a sound. Seo Jae-min entered like he owned the air itself. Dark suit, straight shoulders, black hair combed back from a face that revealed nothing. "Good morning, Mr. Seo," she said. His eyes found hers in the window's reflection. Something shifted in his expression. The look lasted only seconds. Then his attention moved to the conference table. "The Park Industries contracts," he said. "Reviewed and flagged," Amara said. "3 clauses need modification." He nodded once. His voice was calm. "Which sections?" She handed him the marked pages. Their fingers didn't touch. She made sure of that. Physical contact invited questions she couldn't answer. Payment terms, liability caps, termination rights. Her voice was steady. Professional. "I've highlighted the problem areas." Jae-min studied the documents. His focus was complete, absolute. She'd worked for him 6 months and never seen his concentration waver. The silence stretched between them, comfortable for her, natural for him. Board members began arriving. Mr. Kim from Acquisitions, Miss Park from Legal, 3 others whose names she knew but rarely spoke. They filled chairs around the table with quiet efficiency. Amara took her position by the wall. Notebook ready, pen in hand. She would record everything and speak only when asked. "Gentlemen, ladies," Jae-min's voice carried authority that needed no volume. "The Park Industries acquisition." The meeting proceeded exactly as planned. Numbers discussed, terms debated, decisions made with calculated precision. Amara took notes and watched Jae-min command the room without effort. His control was absolute. No one questioned his judgment. No one challenged his conclusions. When he spoke, others listened. When he decided, the matter was finished. Amara felt something close to admiration. Then her phone buzzed again. She glanced down carefully. A text message showed on the lock screen. Her stomach dropped. "You can't hide." The phone slipped from her fingers. It hit the floor with a sharp crack. Every head in the room turned toward her. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. She bent to retrieve the device. Blood rushed to her face. "I'm very sorry." Jaemin's eyes fixed on her. His expression remained neutral, professional. But his attention felt different now, focused in a way that made her skin prickle. "Continue, Mr. Kim," he said. The meeting resumed. Amara stood perfectly still. Her phone stayed silent in her pocket, but the message burned in her memory. Malik had found her work number. Somehow he always found her. 20 minutes later, the board members filed out. Contracts signed. Decisions implemented. Business completed with Korean efficiency. Amara began collecting papers from the table. Her hands moved automatically, stacking, sorting, creating order from the scattered documents. "Miss Brooks." His voice stopped her completely. She looked up. They were alone in the conference room. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed them against the city skyline. "Yes, Mr. CEO." He stood at the head of the table, hands clasped behind his back, dark eyes studying her face with uncomfortable intensity. "That bandage," he said, "it isn't from a fall." Panic flashed through her chest. Amara's breath caught. Her training kicked in immediately. Deny everything, reveal nothing. Protect Nova at all costs. "I hit the bathroom door," she said. "Stupid accident." "The swelling suggests impact from a closed fist," Jamin said. His voice was matter-of-fact, clinical. "The bruising pattern indicates someone right-handed, taller than you." Heat flooded her face. How could he know these things? How could he see what she'd hidden from everyone else? "Mr. Seo, I don't. The stiffness in your neck, the way you favor your left side, these are not injuries from a door." Amara felt exposed, vulnerable in a way that made her want to run. This man saw too much, knew too much, asked questions that could destroy everything. "I need to pick up my sister after school," she said. "Her insulin pickup is at 4. The change of subject was abrupt, desperate. Jamin studied her face for a long moment. Something in his expression softened almost imperceptibly. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a business card. "Set it carefully on the table between them. For work emergencies," he said. The card showed his private number, not the office line everyone else used. "Something reserved for trusted associates and family members." "I don't understand," she said. "You will." He walked to the door, stopped without turning around. "Miss Brooks?" "Yes?" Bruises fade, threats do not. Then he was gone. The conference room felt enormous without his presence. Amara stared at the business card. Her hands shook slightly as she picked it up. The number was written in black ink, precise digits that could connect her to the most feared man in Koreatown. A lifeline she wasn't sure she dared to use. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Malik. "Saw you downtown. Looking good in that building." Amara's chest tightened. He was watching. Always watching. The glass conference room suddenly felt like a fishbowl, transparent walls that offered no protection from predators circling outside. She slipped Jamin's card into her purse. Didn't save the number to her phone. Some lifelines were too dangerous to make permanent. The elevator ride down felt endless. 30 floors of descent, while her mind raced through possibilities. Malik was escalating. The texts were getting bolder, more specific. She pushed through the lobby doors into afternoon sunlight. Los Angeles heat hit her face immediately. Traffic noise replaced the building's corporate silence. A black sedan sat across the street, tinted windows, engine running. Exactly the kind of car Malik's friends drove when they wanted to intimidate someone. Amara turned left toward the bus stop. The sedan's engine revved once. A signal, a promise. They wanted her to know she was being watched. Her phone rang. Nova's contact photo filled the screen. 16 years old, with bright eyes and stubborn chin. The only family Amara had left in the world. "Hey, baby girl," she said. "Amara?" Nova's voice was tight with worry. "There's a man outside the apartment building. He's been there since lunch." Fear shot through Amara's chest. Malik was moving faster than expected, covering more ground, closing the net around both of them. "Lock the door," she said. "Don't open it for anyone. I'm coming home." "What's happening?" "Just stay inside. Promise me." "I promise." The call ended. Amara looked back at the black sedan. The driver's window rolled down slightly. She couldn't see his face, but she felt his attention. She walked toward the bus stop with forced calm. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to hide, to find somewhere Malik couldn't reach them, but running required money they didn't have. Hiding required resources beyond her reach. She was trapped between a man who wanted to own her and a city that didn't care if she disappeared. The bus arrived with a wheeze of brakes. Amara climbed the steps and found a seat near the back. Through the window, she watched the black sedan pull into traffic behind them. They weren't even trying to be subtle anymore. Her purse contained Jamin's business card. The private number of a man who commanded respect through fear, who saw things others missed, who offered help she didn't understand. Amara felt desperate. the kind of desperation that made bad choices seem reasonable. She pulled out her phone and stared at the keypad. 10 digits stood between her current nightmare and an unknown future. 10 numbers that could change everything or destroy what little safety she'd built. The bus stopped at her corner. The black sedan stopped too. Amara stepped onto the sidewalk and made her decision. She didn't call Jamin's number. Instead, she deleted it from her recent contacts and headed toward her apartment building. Some lifelines were too dangerous to grab. The next morning brought the same elevator ride, the same glass corridors, the same conference room with its wall of windows overlooking downtown Los Angeles. But something had changed. Amara felt it the moment she stepped off the elevator. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Colleagues glanced at her and looked away quickly. The building's corporate energy felt different. She focused on her work, files organized, meeting notes prepared. Everything exactly as CO Jamin expected. Her phone stayed silent in her pocket. No texts from Malik since yesterday afternoon. The quiet felt more ominous than his threats. Heavy footsteps approached in the hallway. The conference room door opened. Jamin entered with his usual controlled precision. "Good morning, Mr. Seo," she said. "Miss Brooks." His voice was neutral. "Professional. The Chen Group merger documents. Ready for your review," she said. "The due diligence files are complete." He nodded once, moved to examine the papers she'd prepared. His focus seemed complete, but she felt his awareness of her presence. The man missed nothing. The morning proceeded normally until 10:30. Board members arrived for the second meeting of the week. Legal consultants filled remaining chairs. The room buzzed with quiet conversation. Jamin took his position at the head of the table. Authority radiated from him without effort. Silence fell immediately. "The Chen Group acquisition," he said. "Final terms." Amara took her position by the wall, notebook ready. Pen in hand. The routine was comforting, familiar, safe. 20 minutes into the meeting, Jamin dismissed the room. "I need to review the liability clauses privately," he said. "We'll reconvene at 2:00. Board members filed out efficiently. Legal consultants gathered their materials. Within moments, the conference room was empty, except for Amara and her employer. She began collecting documents from the table. Movement helped calm her nerves. Organization created the illusion of control. "Miss Brooks," his voice stopped, her hands mid-motion. She looked up. Jamin stood at the window wall, back straight, hands clasped behind him. His reflection watched her in the glass. "Yes, Mr. Seo? The man who hurt you," he said. "Will he come to this building?" Direct questions were dangerous. They demanded answers she couldn't give without destroying everything. Amara's breath caught. "I don't know what you mean," she said. "The bruising on your face has progressed exactly as trauma medicine predicts. The swelling indicates recent impact. Yesterday or the night before." His clinical knowledge frightened her. How did a businessman know so much about injuries, about violence and its aftermath? "Mr. Seo, I appreciate your concern, but the black sedan that followed your bus yesterday evening," he said. "Did you recognize the driver?" Amara's hands went still. Her heart hammered against her ribs. He'd been watching. Somehow he knew about Malik's surveillance. "I need to pick up Nova after school," she said. "Your sister," he said, 16 years old, diabetic, attends Jefferson High School." Fear shot through her chest. This man knew too much, saw too much, possessed information that could be used as weapons. "How do you know that?" "Background checks are standard for all employees with access to sensitive documents," Jamin said. His voice remained calm. "Matter of fact. Your sister requires insulin twice daily. Expensive medication. Yes. Medical insurance through this company covers her prescriptions. Yes. This job is important to you." Amara felt trapped, cornered by kindness wrapped in authority. This conversation was heading somewhere she couldn't predict. "Very important," she said. Jamin turned from the window. His dark eyes found hers directly. No reflection between them now. Just two people separated by glass table and unspoken truths. "The man who hit you," he said. "What does he want?" "Mr. Seo, answer the question." His voice carried absolute authority, the kind of command that expected obedience without question. Amara felt herself responding despite every instinct that screamed silence. "Control," she said. Over you. Yes, and your sister. He doesn't care about Nova. Men who hurt women often target what those women love most. The observation hit her like cold water. Malik had never shown interest in Nova directly, but his threats were escalating. His surveillance was expanding. How long before he decided to use her sister as leverage? I can handle Malik, she said. Malik, Jamin repeated the name once, filed it away like evidence. His last name? I shouldn't have said that. Miss Brooks, his voice was patient, inexorable. This conversation ends one of two ways. You accept help, or you resign immediately. Shock hit her chest. Amara's mouth opened, but no words came. This job was everything. Health insurance for Nova, rent money, stability in a world that offered none. You can't fire me for being a victim, she said. I am not firing you, Jamin said. I am establishing parameters for your continued employment. What parameters? Your safety is not negotiable. The words hung between them like a contract waiting for signatures. Amara felt the weight of decision settling on her shoulders. Accept help from a man she barely knew, or lose everything she'd built. What kind of help? The kind that ensures your sister receives her medication on schedule, he said. The kind that prevents black sedans from following your bus. I don't understand. Jamin reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out his phone, scrolled to a contact, and pressed call. The line connected immediately. Minho, he said. Korean words followed, short sentences spoken with absolute certainty. The call ended. Jamin returned the phone to his pocket. What did you just do? Amara asked. Solved a problem. What problem? The man watching your sister's school. Ice flooded Amara's veins. Nova was supposed to be safe, protected by distance and anonymity. If Malik had found Jefferson High School, then nowhere was secure. How do you know someone's watching her school? The same way I know about the black sedan. The same way I know Malik Trent has gambling debts to the wrong people. Amara's legs felt weak. This conversation had moved beyond her control, beyond her understanding. Jamin possessed information that should have been impossible to gather. Who are you? She whispered. Someone who keeps his employees safe. That's not an answer. It is the only answer you need today. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text message. Probably Malik with new threats or demands. She didn't look. Miss Brooks, Jamin said. Your sister will be met at her tutoring session by my associate. Minho will ensure she arrives home safely. I didn't ask for that. You did not need to ask. This is happening too fast. Dangerous situations require quick decisions. Amara felt overwhelmed. Events were moving beyond her control. This man was making choices about her life without permission, without explanation. I need to think, she said. You have until tomorrow morning. What happens tomorrow morning? You decide whether to accept protection or find new employment. The ultimatum hit her like a physical blow. Amara's hands shook as she gathered the scattered contracts from the table. This job was everything, but accepting help from Jamin felt like stepping off a cliff. The meeting resumes at 2 o'clock, he said. Yes, Mr. CO. Minho will escort you to the bus stop. I can walk alone. Not anymore. The conference room door opened before she could protest. A man entered with quiet efficiency. Medium height, dark suit. Face that revealed nothing. Miss Brooks, Jamin said. Park Minho. Minho nodded once. His eyes were alert. Professional. Dangerous, in a way that made her skin prickle. Ma'am, he said. His English carried a slight accent. I don't need an escort, she said. Today you do, Jamin said. His voice carried finality that ended all discussion. Amara looked between the two men, both watching her with calm intensity, both waiting for her decision. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Malik. More threats. More promises of what he'd do when he found her alone. All right, she said. The walk to the elevator felt surreal. Minho moved beside her with professional distance. Not crowding, not touching, but his presence felt absolute, protective in a way that was both comforting and terrifying. The elevator doors closed on the three of them. Amara watched the floor numbers descend. 30 floors toward an uncertain future. Mr. CO, she said. Yes? Why are you helping me? He studied her face in the elevator's polished walls. Something in his expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Because someone should have helped her," he said. Before Amara could ask who her was, the elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened onto marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows. Minho stepped out first. His eyes scanned the space automatically, checking corners, identifying exits. Moving with the unconscious efficiency of someone trained in violence, they walked through the lobby in silence, past security guards who nodded respectfully at Minho, past reception desks where conversations stopped as they approached. The glass doors opened onto afternoon sunlight. Traffic noise replaced corporate silence. Los Angeles heat hit Amara's face immediately. The black sedan was gone. She looked up and down the street. No tinted windows, no running engines, no watchers in the shadows. "How?" she asked. "Mr. Sao keeps his word," Minho said. They walked toward the bus stop together. Minho stayed close enough to intervene, but far enough to avoid crowding her. His awareness was constant, complete. "You work for him long?" she asked. 7 years. What kind of business requires this level of security?" Minho looked at her with dark eyes that revealed nothing. "The kind that protects what matters," he said. The bus arrived with its familiar wheeze of brakes. Amara climbed the steps and found her usual seat near the back. Through the window, she watched Minho wait until the bus pulled into traffic. No black sedan followed. Her phone stayed quiet during the entire ride home. Nova was waiting in their apartment kitchen when Amara arrived. Books spread across the small table, homework organized in neat stacks. Everything exactly as it should be. "How was tutoring?" Amara asked. "Good." Nova looked up from her chemistry notes. "There was a man waiting when I came out." Fear shot through Amara's chest. Her hands went still on the refrigerator handle. "What kind of man?" Asian guy. Dark suit. He said you sent him." Relief and anxiety warred in her chest. Minho had kept his word. But Nova's safety was now connected to strangers whose motivations she didn't understand. "Did he say anything else?" "Just that he'd make sure I got home safe." Nova's voice was curious, not frightened. "Amara, what's going on?" The question she'd been dreading. "How do you explain that your ex-boyfriend is stalking you to a 16-year-old who has enough medical problems without adding adult fears?" "Some trouble at work," she said. "Security precautions." "What kind of trouble?" "Nothing you need to worry about." Nova's eyes narrowed. At 16, she was too smart to accept easy answers, too observant to miss details. "That bandage on your face isn't from work," she said. "Nova, and you've been checking the locks every night for 2 weeks." Amara's breath caught. She'd thought she was being subtle, careful, protecting Nova from the truth of their situation. "Someone's bothering you," Nova said. "Someone dangerous enough that your boss sent security." The girl was too perceptive, too intelligent for comfortable lies. Amara sat down across from her at their small table. "Malik's been texting," she said. Nova's face went pale. She remembered Malik from before, the way he'd controlled every aspect of Amara's life, the bruises that appeared and disappeared without explanation. "I thought he was gone," she said. "So did I." "What does he want?" "The same thing he always wanted, control. Over you." "Yes. And me?" Amara's chest tightened. This conversation was moving into territory she'd hoped to avoid. But Nova deserved honesty, deserved to understand the danger they faced. "I don't know," she said. "Maybe." Nova closed her chemistry book. Her movements were careful, controlled, the way she moved when her blood sugar was dropping or when fear made her hands shake. "The man from your work," she said. "Can he help?" "I think so. Do you trust him?" The question hit the heart of everything. Trust was dangerous. Trust led to dependence. Dependence led to control. But the alternative was facing Malik alone. "I don't know him well enough to trust him," Amara said. "But I trust that he keeps his word." "What's his word?" "That he'll keep us safe." Nova nodded slowly. At 16, she understood survival better than most adults. Medical emergencies had taught her that sometimes accepting help was the difference between life and death. "Then, we accept his help," she said. "It might change everything." "Everything's already changed." "Malik's back. That changes everything." The simple truth hit harder than any threat. Nova was right. Malik's return had altered their reality whether they acknowledged it or not. Pretending, otherwise was just denial. Amara's phone rang. Unknown number, local area code. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Miss Brooks. The voice was calm, controlled, instantly recognizable. Mr. CO, your decision, he said. I haven't had time. Minho reports your sister arrived home safely. The man watching her school has been discouraged from returning. Discouraged how? Effectively. The single word carried implications she didn't want to explore. But Nova was safe. That was what mattered. What exactly are you offering? She asked. Protection, resources, stability. In exchange for what? Continued employment, professional discretion, trust. The word that made everything complicated. Trust meant vulnerability. Vulnerability meant the possibility of betrayal. I need guarantees, she said. What kind of guarantees? That Nova stays safe, that her medical care continues, that we don't become prisoners, agreed, that I maintain control over decisions affecting our lives. Within reason. What does within reason mean? It means your safety is not negotiable. Everything else can be discussed. Amara looked at Nova across their small table. Her sister was watching with bright, intelligent eyes, waiting for a decision that would determine their future. Miss Brooks, Jamin said, Malik Trent borrowed money from people who collect debts through violence. His obligations are mounting. His desperation is increasing. How do you know that? I know many things. The question is whether you want my protection or my sympathy. The choice was brutal in its simplicity. Accept help from a man she didn't understand, or face Malik's escalating threats alone. I accept, she said. Good. Minho will escort you to work tomorrow. Be ready at 7:30. I usually take the bus. Not anymore. The line went dead. Amara stared at her phone. In 30 seconds, she'd committed herself and Nova to a future she couldn't predict. What did you tell him? Nova asked. That, we accept his help. All of it? All of it. Nova nodded once. Her expression was calm, resolved. At 16, she understood that survival sometimes required uncomfortable choices. Amara, yeah? I'm proud of you for asking for help. The words hit deeper than expected. Amara felt her throat tighten. For 18 months, she'd carried the weight of their survival alone, made every decision, faced every crisis, protected Nova from truths too heavy for teenage shoulders. I don't know if it's the right choice, she said, but it's a choice. That's better than just waiting for bad things to happen. Her sister's wisdom was uncomfortable, accurate in ways that made Amara's chest ache. They'd been waiting for Malik to escalate, hoping he'd lose interest, praying distance would keep them safe. Prayer wasn't a strategy. Hope wasn't a plan. Nova. Yeah? Whatever happens next, we stick together. Always. The promise felt solid, real. The one certainty in a future full of unknowns. Amara's phone buzzed with a text message. She expected Malik's name on the screen. Instead, she saw an unknown number. 7:30 tomorrow. Black sedan. Minho driving. Do not be late. No signature. No explanation. Just instructions delivered with absolute authority. She showed the message to Nova. Her sister read it twice. Fancy, Nova said. Terrifying. Maybe both. Amara looked around their small apartment. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Furniture bought second-hand and arranged with care. Everything they owned could fit in a moving truck with room to spare. Tomorrow, their lives would change direction. Toward safety or toward a different kind of danger. There was no way to know which until it was too late to turn back. I need to pack a bag for work, she said. What kind of bag? The kind that might need to last more than 1 day. Nova understood immediately. She'd lived through enough emergencies to recognize preparation when she saw it. I'll pack one too, she said. They moved through their small space efficiently. Clothes folded, medications counted, documents gathered. Everything important enough to carry condensed into 2 travel bags. The work felt ceremonial, like preparing for a journey with no guaranteed return. But it also felt practical, necessary, the kind of preparation that might save their lives. By 9 o'clock, they were ready. 2 bags by the door, apartment clean, bills paid through the end of the month. Nova? Yeah? Are you scared? Terrified. Good. That means we're paying attention. Her sister smiled. The expression was brave and fragile at the same time. 16 years old and already too familiar with fear. Amara? Yeah? Whatever Mr. Seo wants, don't give up who you are to get his help. The warning hit like cold water. Nova had seen what happened when Amara tried to please dangerous men. The ways she'd lost herself trying to keep the peace. I won't, she said. Promise? I promise. The words felt like an oath. A commitment to herself as much as to Nova. Whatever came next, she would maintain her identity, her autonomy, her right to choose, even if those choices were becoming increasingly limited. 7:25 the next morning. Amara stood by their apartment window watching the street below. Black sedan pulled to the curb exactly on schedule. Tinted windows, professional discretion. Minho stepped out of the driver's seat. Dark suit, alert posture. He scanned the street automatically before looking up at their building. He's here, she called to Nova. Her sister emerged from the bathroom with her school bag and diabetes kit, everything organized with typical efficiency. You sure about this? Nova asked. Too late for second thoughts. They took the elevator down together. The building's lobby was empty except for Mrs. Chen sorting mail behind the front desk. She looked up as they passed. Morning, girls, she said. Morning, Mrs. Chen. Normal conversation in an abnormal situation. The disconnect felt surreal. Amara pushed through the glass doors into morning sunlight. Minho waited beside the sedan. His expression was professional, neutral. He nodded once as they approached. Miss Brooks, Miss Nova. Good morning, Amara said. He opened the rear door. The interior was black leather and tinted glass. Privacy and protection wrapped in expensive materials. Nova has school, Amara said. I will drive her after dropping you at the office. That's not necessary. Mr. Seo's instructions. The authority in his voice ended all discussion. Amara climbed into the sedan with Nova beside her. The door closed with a solid thunk that spoke of reinforced construction. Minho settled behind the wheel. The engine started without sound. They pulled into traffic with smooth efficiency. How long have you worked for Mr. Seo? Amara asked. 7 years. What kind of work do you do for him? Minho's eyes found hers in the rearview mirror. Dark, professional, revealing nothing. Security. What kind of security? The kind that keeps people safe. Nova leaned forward slightly. Her curiosity was engaged despite the strange circumstances. Are you like a bodyguard? She asked. Among other things. What other things? Whatever Mr. Seo requires. The answers were non-answers. Professional deflection wrapped in polite conversation. Minho was trained to reveal nothing while appearing cooperative. They rode in silence through morning traffic. Los Angeles moved around them at its usual frantic pace. Commuters rushing to jobs, students heading to school, normal people living normal lives. Amara felt disconnected from that normality. Yesterday she'd been one of those commuters. Today she rode in a black sedan with tinted windows and a driver trained in violence. Miss Brooks, Minho said. Yes? Mr. Seo wishes to speak with you privately this morning. About what? Security arrangements. What kind of arrangements? The kind that ensure your continued safety. Another non-answer, more professional deflection. But the implications were clear. Jaemin was planning something beyond yesterday's conversation. They pulled into the underground garage beneath Seo Industries. Concrete walls, fluorescent lighting. Dozens of expensive cars arranged in numbered spaces. Minho parked near the elevator bank. The engine died without sound. They sat in silence for a moment. Nova, he said, I will return in 1 hour to drive you to school. Okay, she said. Wait in the lobby. Do not leave the building. Why not? Mr. Seo's instructions. The authority was absolute, non-negotiable. Nova nodded once. At 16, she understood when compliance was required for survival. Amara hugged her sister quickly. Text me when you get to school. I will. And check your blood sugar at lunch. Always do. The routine. Conversation felt precious, normal in a situation, spiraling beyond normalcy. Amara held onto it as they stepped out of the sedan. Minho escorted them to the elevator. His presence was protective and restrictive at the same time. Safety and control were often indistinguishable. The elevator climbed 30 floors in silence. The doors opened onto the glass corridors of Seo Industries. Corporate efficiency wrapped in morning sunlight. Mr. Seo is waiting in his private office. Minho said, I thought we were meeting in the conference room. Plans have changed. Change was becoming the only constant. Amara followed Minho through corridors she'd never seen before. Executive territory, the realm of decision-makers and power brokers. They stopped at a door marked with Korean characters and English text. S. Jaemin, Chief Executive Officer. Minho knocked once. A voice from inside called permission to enter. The door opened onto an office that spoke of absolute authority. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked downtown Los Angeles, minimalist furniture arranged with perfect precision. Not a single personal item visible, except for a framed photograph on the desk. Jaemin stood with his back to the door, dark suit, straight shoulders, hands clasped behind him as he studied the city below. Miss Brooks, he said without turning around. Mr. Seo, please sit. She took the chair across from his desk. The leather was expensive, comfortable, designed to put visitors at ease while maintaining the power dynamic. Minho closed the door and remained standing. Silent presence that suggested this conversation required witnesses. Your sister is 16, Jaemin said. Yes. Diabetic. Type 1. Requires insulin twice daily. Yes. Medical insurance through this company covers her prescriptions at 80%. The remaining cost is $200 monthly. Amara's chest tightened. He'd researched their medical expenses, knew exactly how precarious their financial situation was. The insurance is adequate, she said. For now, but insurance can be cancelled. Prescriptions can become unaffordable. Teenage diabetics can die from lack of proper medication. The words hit like physical blows. He was outlining their vulnerabilities with clinical precision, making clear how easily their stability could be destroyed. Are you threatening my sister? Jaemin turned from the window. His dark eyes found hers directly. No reflection between them now. Just two people separated by mahogany desk and unspoken truths. I am explaining why your safety matters to more than just you. I don't understand. Malik Trent owes $40,000 to Kang Dae-hyun. Kang runs street-level collection for the Han organization. Men who work for Kang do not accept payment plans. Ice flooded Amara's veins. This conversation had moved beyond her understanding, beyond her control. Jaemin possessed information about criminal organizations and debt, collection that should have been impossible to gather. How do you know this? I know many things about my city. That's not an answer. It is the only answer you need today. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text message, probably Nova confirming her arrival at school. She didn't look. Mr. Seo, she said, what exactly are you offering? Relocation, protection, financial stability. In exchange for what? Continued employment, discretion, trust. Where would we relocate to? My residence. Shock hit her chest. Amara's mouth opened, but no words came. He was suggesting they move into his home, live under his protection like dependents. That's not possible, she said. It is the only option that ensures complete security. I won't become a prisoner. You will become a protected person. What's the difference? Prisoners are held against their will. Protected persons are kept safe by choice. The distinction felt meaningless. Both situations involved loss of freedom. Both required surrender of autonomy to someone else's authority. I need time to think, she said. Time is a luxury you no longer possess. What does that mean? Jaemin reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out his phone, scrolled to a photograph, and turned the screen toward her. The image showed Malik standing outside Jefferson High School, talking to a man in expensive clothes, money changing hands. This was taken 20 minutes ago, he said. Fear shot through her chest like electricity. Malik was escalating faster than expected, moving beyond surveillance into active recruitment. He's hiring help, she said. Men with criminal records, men who specialize in collecting debts through intimidation. Debts? Kang Dae-hyun has decided that Malik's girlfriend and her sister represent collateral for his outstanding obligations. The room seemed to tilt sideways. Amara gripped the arms of her chair to steady herself. They weren't just running from an abusive ex-boyfriend anymore. They were fleeing organized crime. We're not collateral, she said. You are whatever Kang decides you are. This is insane. This is reality. Amara's phone rang. Nova's contact photo filled the screen. Her sister's bright eyes and stubborn chin. The only family she had left in the world. She answered immediately. Nova? Amara? Her sister's voice was tight with fear. There are men outside my school. They're asking questions about you. Terror flooded her chest. Amara's breath caught. Her hands shook as she gripped the phone. Stay inside, she said. Don't leave the building. They know what you look like. They know where we live. Nova, listen to me. Stay exactly where you are. Help is coming. What help? Just trust me, okay? Okay. The call ended. Amara looked at Jae-min across his mahogany desk. His expression was calm, controlled. But something in his eyes suggested he'd been expecting this development. Min-ho is already moving, he said. How did you? I have people watching your sister's school. Since when? Since yesterday. Relief and anger warred in her chest. He'd been protecting Nova without permission, without explanation, making decisions about their lives without consultation. You should have told me, she said. You would have refused. That was my choice to make. And Nova would be in a van with Kang's men right now. The truth hit like cold water. Amara's anger evaporated. He was right. She would have refused surveillance, would have insisted they could handle the situation alone. Pride was a luxury they couldn't afford anymore. What happens now? She asked. Now you make a choice. Accept my protection completely, or take your chances with Kang De-hyun. That's not a choice. It is the only choice you have. Amara looked around his office. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, the framed photograph on his desk showing a woman's hand resting on a pregnant belly. The woman in the photograph, she said. Who was she? Something shifted in Jae-min's expression. Pain flickered across his features before the mask returned. My wife, he said. Was? She died. The simple words carried weight that filled the room. Amara understood now why he recognized injuries so easily, why he moved with controlled violence just beneath the surface. I'm sorry, she said. So am I. Her phone buzzed with a text message. Min-ho's number on the screen. Nova is secure. Moving to safe location. ETA 15 minutes. Relief flooded her chest. Nova was safe. That was what mattered most. Everything else could be negotiated later. Your answer, miss. Brooks. Amara looked at the photograph on his desk. A woman who hadn't been protected, a child who would never be born, tragedy that shaped the man offering them salvation. We accept, she said. Completely? Completely. Good. Jae-min pressed a button on his desk phone. The line connected immediately. Prepare the East Wing, he said in Korean. The call ended. He stood from his chair with fluid efficiency. Miss Yoon will meet you at the residence, he said. She manages household operations. What about my job? You will work from the residence until the situation is resolved. How long will that take? As long as necessary. Another non-answer, more professional deflection. But Amara was learning to read between the lines. The situation would take as long as it took. Her timeline was no longer her own. Mr. Seo. Yes? Thank you. He studied her face for a long moment. Something in his expression softened almost imperceptibly. Do not thank me yet, he said. Protection comes with a price. What price? Your freedom to make choices that endanger others. The words hung between them like a contract waiting for signatures. Amara understood now what she was accepting. Safety in exchange for autonomy. Protection in exchange for control. I understand, she said. Do you? Yes. Then we begin. The black sedan wound through Koreatown's narrow streets with practiced efficiency. Amara sat in the passenger seat watching unfamiliar neighborhoods blur past the tinted windows. Traditional shops mixed with modern businesses, Korean characters shared space with English signs. Nova dozed in the back seat, exhaustion finally claiming her after the morning's terror. Her diabetes kit rested in her lap, insulin pens organized with typical precision. How much further? Amara asked. 2 minutes, Min-ho said. They turned onto a tree-lined street that felt removed from the city's chaos. High walls concealed elegant homes. Security cameras tracked their progress with mechanical precision. The sedan stopped at iron gates flanked by stone pillars. Korean characters were carved into granite above an English nameplate. SEO Residence. Min-ho pressed a remote control. The gates swung open silently. They drove through onto a circular driveway paved with dark stone. Mature landscaping created privacy without feeling fortress-like. The house was modern Korean architecture, clean lines, natural materials, floor-to-ceiling windows that revealed glimpses of interior spaces designed for both beauty and security. Impressive, Nova said, fully awake now. Intimidating, Amara corrected. A woman appeared at the front entrance. 50s. Grey hair pulled back severely. Dark clothing that spoke of authority and efficiency. She waited with hands clasped as the sedan approached. Miss Un, Minho said. House manager. They stopped near the entrance steps. The engine died without sound. Amara felt her heart hammering against her ribs. This was really happening. They were moving into a stranger's home. Miss Un approached the sedan with measured steps. Her expression was neutral, but not unfriendly. Professional assessment of new arrivals. Minho opened Amara's door. She stepped onto paved stone and immediately felt observed. Security cameras tracked from multiple angles. Motion sensors detected their presence. Miss Brooks, Miss Un said. Her English was precise, accented but clear. Welcome. Thank you. Miss Nova. Hi, Nova said, climbing out with her school bag and medical kit. Miss Un's eyes took in every detail. Clothing, posture, the diabetes supplies Nova carried like a security blanket. Nothing escaped her attention. Mr. Seo asked me to explain the household arrangements, she said. What arrangements? Security protocols, daily routines, house rules. The word rules made Amara's chest tighten. She'd spent 18 months building independence, creating a life where no one else made decisions for her and Nova. What kind of rules? She asked. The kind that keep everyone safe. Miss Un turned toward the entrance. Her movement was an invitation and command combined. They followed her up the steps and through doors that opened automatically. The interior was breathtaking. Marble floors, soaring ceilings, art that probably cost more than Amara earned in 5 years. Everything arranged with perfect precision. The East Wing, Miss Un said, leading them down a corridor lined with windows. Private quarters for guests requiring extended accommodation. They passed through a security checkpoint disguised as an architectural feature. Electronic locks, biometric scanners, technology that would make escape difficult if they ever became prisoners instead of guests. How many people live here? Nova asked. Mr. So, myself, 6 household staff, security personnel as needed. How many security personnel? As needed. Another non-answer. More professional deflection, but the implications were clear. This house contained enough armed men to fight a small war. They stopped at a door marked with Korean characters. Miss Un pressed her palm to a scanner. The lock disengaged with a soft click. Your quarters, she said. The suite was larger than their entire apartment. 2 bedrooms connected by a living area with kitchenette. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a private courtyard. Everything designed for comfort and security. This is too much, Amara said. Mr. Seo's instructions were specific. You require privacy and autonomy within secure parameters. Parameters. Another word that made everything sound negotiable while being absolute. Nova explored the space with teenage curiosity, opening closets, testing furniture, examining the kitchenette with its gleaming appliances. There's a medical refrigerator, she called from the smaller bedroom. For my insulin. Miss Un nodded once. Mr. Seo researched your sister's requirements. Everything necessary has been provided. The thoughtfulness was overwhelming, terrifying. No one had cared for Nova's medical needs except Amara. Now a stranger had anticipated every requirement. What are the house rules? Amara asked. Miss Un pulled a tablet from her jacket pocket, scrolled to a document and began reading. No unauthorized access to secure areas. No visitors without prior approval. No leaving the premises without security escort. All medications stored in designated locations. Medical emergencies reported immediately to household staff. Each rule felt like a chain. Comfortable chains made of silk and good intentions, but chains nonetheless. What constitutes an unauthorized area? Amara asked. Mr. Seo's private quarters, his study, the security center, staff quarters. Everything else is accessible. Within reason. That phrase again. Within reason seemed to mean whatever Jae-min decided was reasonable at any given moment. Miss Un, Nova said, what happens if we want to leave? You discuss it with Mr. Seo, and if he says no, Mr. Seo wants you to be safe. Sometimes safety requires difficult choices. The diplomacy was flawless. The message was clear. They could leave when he decided it was safe for them to leave. Amara felt trapped between gratitude and resentment. This man was protecting them from genuine danger. But protection that came with invisible chains was still imprisonment. I need to call my work, she said. Explain my absence. Already handled, Miss. Un said. Mr. Seo informed your department that you're working from his residence temporarily. He can't make decisions about my employment without consulting me. He is your employer. The simple fact hit like cold water. Jae-min owned her job, her health insurance, Nova's medical coverage. He didn't need permission to make employment decisions. What about Nova's school? Arrangements are being made for remote learning until the situation is resolved. She needs to graduate on schedule. She will. Her tutoring sessions will continue. Here, Mr. Seo is hiring qualified instructors. Every practical concern was being addressed before she could voice it. Every problem solved by someone else's authority. It should have been comforting. Instead, it felt like losing control of their lives piece by piece. I want to speak with Mr. Seo, Amara said. He returns at 6 o'clock. Dinner is served at 7. We'll eat in our quarters. Mr. Seo requests your presence at dinner. Requests, not orders. But refusal didn't seem like an option. What if I refuse? Why would you refuse? The question was reasonable, logical, but it missed the point entirely. Refusal was about maintaining autonomy, about proving she still had choices in a situation where choices were becoming extinct. Privacy, she said. You have privacy. These quarters are yours completely, but family meals are important to Mr. Seo. Family. The word hit like a physical blow. They weren't family. They were refugees, dependents, people whose lives had been saved but not necessarily restored. We're not family, she said. You are under his protection. In Korean culture, that creates obligations on both sides. What obligations? Respect, gratitude, participation in household customs. Miss Un's explanation was patient, educational, but it outlined a cultural framework Amara didn't understand or accept. She was American, independent, used to making her own decisions about relationships. I appreciate the cultural context, she said, but Nova and I aren't Korean. We don't follow Korean customs. Mr. Seo understands, but this is his house. His customs apply while you are here. The authority was absolute, politely delivered, but non-negotiable. They could live by Jae-min's rules or find somewhere else to be safe from Kang Dae-hyun. How long will we be here? Nova asked. As long as necessary, Miss Un said. Weeks, months. That depends on factors beyond household control. More deflection, more diplomatic non-answers. But the implications were becoming clear. They were here indefinitely. Guests who couldn't leave. Protected persons who weren't quite prisoners. I'll show you the kitchen facilities, Miss Un said. They followed her through the living area to the kitchenette. Granite countertops, professional appliances. Everything needed to prepare meals independently. You may cook for yourselves whenever you choose, she said, but staff meals are available at designated times. What if Nova's blood sugar drops at night? Medical supplies are stocked here, Miss. Un opened a cabinet revealing glucose tablets, fruit juice, emergency snacks, additional supplies in the medical refrigerator. The preparation was thorough, thoughtful. Someone had researched type 1 diabetes and anticipated every possible scenario. Mr. Seo has experience with medical emergencies, Amara asked. Something flickered across Miss Un's features. Pain, quickly suppressed. Mr. Seo understands the importance of proper medical care, she said. The careful phrasing suggested personal experience. Tragedy that had shaped his approach to other people's health crises. His wife, Amara said. She was ill? She died in an accident. What kind of accident? The kind that could have been prevented with better security. The words hung heavy in the air. Amara understood now why Jae-min was so insistent about protection. Why, he surrounded himself with armed men and surveillance cameras. "I'm sorry," she said. "Mr. Seo does not discuss personal matters, but he will not allow preventable tragedies." The message was clear. His wife's death had been preventable. Their current danger was preventable. He would use whatever force necessary to prevent it. "The bathroom facilities," Miss Un said, moving toward the bedrooms. Each bedroom had its own bathroom, marble surfaces, heated floors, luxury that made their apartment's shared bathroom seem primitive. "Towels and linens are provided," Miss Un said. "Housekeeping staff will maintain the quarters unless you prefer privacy." "We'll maintain them ourselves," Amara said quickly. "As you wish." They returned to the living area. Miss Un consulted her tablet again, checking items off an invisible list. "Security protocols," she said. "Electronic locks on all exterior doors. Biometric access for authorized personnel only. Panic buttons in each room connect directly to the security center." She pointed out concealed buttons near light switches, emergency access to armed response within seconds. "The courtyard is secure but monitored. Windows are bulletproof but appear normal. Internal communication system connects to household staff." Each security feature was explained with casual efficiency, as if bulletproof glass and panic buttons were standard household amenities. "How often are these security measures necessary?" Nova asked. "Prevention is more effective than response," Miss Un said. "That's not an answer." "It is the only answer that matters." Nova looked at Amara with raised eyebrows. Her sister was beginning to understand that direct questions received diplomatic deflection in this house. "One final matter," Miss Un said. "Communications." She handed them each a smartphone, black cases, no identifying marks. The devices looked expensive and anonymous. "These replace your personal phones temporarily," she said. "Why?" "Location security. Your previous devices can be tracked. These cannot." Amara's chest tightened. Cutting off their communication with the outside world was a classic control tactic. Isolate. Restrict. Dominate through dependency. "What if we need to contact friends? Family?" "Requests can be submitted through the communications system." "Submitted to whom?" "Security personnel will evaluate each request." "Evaluate for what?" "Risk assessment." The euphemisms were becoming insulting. They weren't risk assessments. They were permission slips, adult women reduced to asking for permission to make phone calls. "This is feeling like prison," Amara said. "Prisons do not provide luxury accommodations," Miss Un said, "or medical care, or educational resources. Luxury doesn't change the fact that we can't leave. You can leave whenever you choose. But leaving means forfeiting protection and facing Kang Dae-hyun alone. Yes." The choice was brutal in its simplicity. Accept comfortable imprisonment or face violent criminals without protection. "I understand the difficulty," Miss Un said. Her voice was softer now, more personal. "But Mr. Seo has experience with what happens when protection is inadequate." "His wife?" "Yes." "How did she die?" Miss Un was quiet for a long moment. Her professional mask slipped slightly, revealing genuine pain. "Car bomb," she said, "meant for Mr. Seo." Ice flooded Amara's veins. Car bombs weren't random violence. They were professional assassination attempts, the kind used by organized crime. Who planted it? Men who wanted to hurt Mr. Seo by destroying what he loved most. Like Kang Dae-hyun. Exactly like Kang Dae-hyun. The parallel was terrifying. Clear. Malik owed money to dangerous men who would use Nova as leverage to collect debts. History was threatening to repeat itself. "Mr. Seo won't let that happen again," Miss Un said. "How can he be sure? Because this time he's prepared." The confidence in her voice was absolute, built on 7 years of watching Jae-min transform grief into protective authority. "Dinner is at 7, she said. "Formal dress is not required, but respectful attire is appreciated." "We'll be there," Nova said. Miss Un nodded once. Satisfied that household procedures had been explained, she moved toward the door with efficient steps. "Miss Un," Amara said. "Yes?" "Thank you for explaining everything. You are Mr. Seo's guests. Your comfort is my responsibility. And, if we're not comfortable, then we find solutions that work for everyone." The diplomacy was flawless again. But Amara was learning to hear what wasn't being said. Solutions would be found within parameters, Jamin established. Comfort would be provided as long as it didn't compromise security. 6 o'clock, miss, Un said. Mr. Seo returns. 7 o'clock dinner. Rest until then. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Electronic locks engaged automatically. They were alone in their beautiful, secure, voluntary prison. Well, Nova said, this is interesting, terrifying, also interesting. Amara explored their quarters more carefully. Every detail designed for comfort and security. Hidden cameras were invisible but certainly present. Privacy was an illusion maintained by good manners. The medical refrigerator is amazing, Nova called from her bedroom. Temperature controlled, locked storage, better than the pharmacy. Small comforts in an uncomfortable situation. Nova's diabetes management would be easier here than it had ever been at home. Amara, Nova said, come look at this. Her sister stood at the window overlooking their private courtyard. Stone pathways wound between flowering plants. A fountain provided soothing water sounds, everything beautiful and serene. There, Nova said, pointing to a corner of the courtyard. A man in dark clothing stood motionless among the shadows, security personnel maintaining watch over their supposedly private space. We're being guarded, Amara said. Protected, Nova corrected. There's a difference. Is there? Guards keep prisoners inside. Protection keeps dangers outside. Her sister's wisdom was uncomfortable, accurate in ways that challenged Amara's instinct to resist authority. What do you think of all this? Amara asked. It's the nicest place I've ever lived. That's not what I meant. I know what you meant. Nova turned from the window. Her expression was serious, adult. But I also know what it's like to go to bed scared every night. We weren't scared in our apartment. I was. Every time you came home with new bruises, every time Malik called, every time you thought I wasn't paying attention. The admission hit like cold water. Amara had thought she was protecting Nova from adult fears. Apparently, she'd been protecting herself from acknowledging her sister's awareness. I handled Malik, she said. No, you survived him. There's a difference. Nova's clarity was painful, honest in ways that forced Amara to confront uncomfortable truths. This feels like giving up control, she said. Control is an illusion, Nova said. Safety isn't. When did you get so wise? When my sister started making sure I had insulin every day, whether she could afford it or not. The conversation was becoming too emotional, too honest. Amara felt her throat tighten with unshed tears. I'm supposed to take care of you, she said. You do, but sometimes taking care means accepting help. From strangers, from people who can actually keep us safe. Nova's logic was unassailable, painful but accurate. Pride was a luxury they couldn't afford when survival was at stake. I'm scared, Amara said, of Malik, of losing who I am in this place. Who you are doesn't change because your address does, doesn't it? Not unless you let it. Her sister's confidence was reassuring. 16 years old and already understanding identity better than most adults. Amara's new phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number but obvious sender. Dinner at 7. Formal dress not required. Looking forward to speaking with you both. Seo. He texts, Nova said, reading over her shoulder. Politely. That's promising. Or calculated. Maybe both. They spent the afternoon organizing their few belongings in the spacious quarters. Clothes hung in closets designed for 10 times their wardrobe. Personal items looked lost in rooms designed for wealth. At 5:30, they began preparing for dinner. Neither owned formal wear, but they chose their best available options. Nova's school dress, Amara's work blouse, and dark pants. Nervous? Nova asked. Terrified. He saved us today. Today? What about tomorrow? Tomorrow we'll still be alive to worry about it. Her sister's pragmatism was both comforting and disturbing, survival thinking that prioritized safety over autonomy. At 6:50, they left their quarters and walked through corridors toward the main house. Security cameras tracked their movement. Their footsteps echoed on marble floors. Miss. Un met them at the entrance to the dining room. She'd changed into more formal attire, dark dress that spoke of respect for household customs. Mr. Seo is waiting, she said. The dining room was elegant without being ostentatious. Dark wood table, simple chairs, art that spoke of culture rather than wealth, a space designed for family rather than intimidation. Jamin stood at the head of the table. He changed from his business suit into dark pants and white shirt, casual but respectful, approachable without losing authority. "Miss Brooks, Miss Nova." His voice was warm. "Welcome to my home. Thank you for your hospitality," Amara said. "Thank you for accepting my protection." They took seats at the table. Not formal placement, but comfortable arrangement. 3 people sharing a meal rather than host and dependents. "How are you finding the quarters?" he asked. "Very comfortable," Nova said. "The medical refrigerator is incredible. Diabetes requires careful management. I wanted to ensure you had everything necessary." "How do you know so much about diabetes?" she asked. Something flickered across his features. Pain, quickly suppressed. "Research," he said. "Preparation prevents problems." Miss Un began serving dinner. Korean dishes prepared with obvious expertise, flavors that were complex but accessible to American palates. "This is amazing," Nova said. "Miss Un is an exceptional cook." "Among other things," Miss Un said dryly. The gentle humor surprised Amara. These people had relationships that went beyond employer and staff. They were something approaching family. "Mr. Seo," she said, "I have questions about our situation. I expected you would. How long will we need to stay here?" "Until Kang De-hyun decides that pursuing you is more expensive than writing off Malik's debts." "How long does that typically take?" "There is no typical in situations like this." Another diplomatic non-answer. But Amara was beginning to understand that precision was impossible when dealing with criminal organizations. "What's our legal status here?" she asked. "You are my guests. Can we leave whenever we choose?" "Yes." "Without conditions?" "Without conditions that prioritize your safety above your autonomy." The careful phrasing suggested that conditions existed but were negotiable. "What if we want to leave tomorrow?" "Then you leave tomorrow. And face Kang alone? If that is your choice." The freedom was real but practically meaningless. Leaving meant certain danger. Staying meant uncertain imprisonment. "Mr. Seo," Nova said. "What happened to your wife?" Silence fell over the table like a weight. Miss Un's hands went still. Jamin's expression became carefully neutral. "Nova," Amara said quickly. "That's personal." "It's relevant," Nova said. "If we're going to trust him, we need to understand why this matters to him." Her sister's directness was uncomfortable but logical. They were entrusting their lives to a stranger. His motivations were crucial information. "She was 7 months pregnant," Jamin said quietly. "The bomb was meant for me. Who planted it?" "Men who wanted to hurt me by destroying what I loved. Like Kang wants to hurt Malik by taking us." Exactly. The parallel was clear, terrifying. History threatening to repeat itself with different victims. "But this time you're prepared," Nova said. "This time I know what I'm protecting." His voice carried weight that filled the room. Determination built on grief and guilt. He would not lose anyone else to preventable violence. "Mr. Seo," Amara said, "what exactly is your business?" "Import and export." "What kind of imports?" "Various products from Korea and Japan. That requires this level of security. Success creates enemies. Wealth attracts criminals. Protection is necessary." The explanations were reasonable but incomplete. Import businesses didn't typically require armed security and bulletproof windows. "You're not just an importer," she said. "No. What else are you?" Jamin was quiet for a long moment, considering how much truth to reveal, how much knowledge was safe to share. "I am someone who protects what matters," he said finally. "Through what means?" "Whatever means are necessary." The answer was honest without being specific. Amara understood that some truths were too dangerous for civilian knowledge. "Are you part of organized crime?" she asked. "I am part of an organization that maintains order in this community." "Korean Mafia?" "Community Protection Services." The euphemism was elegant but transparent. He was exactly what she'd suspected. A criminal leader who used violence to solve problems. "And we're safe here because you're more dangerous than Kang," she said. "You are safe here because I will not allow harm to come to people under my protection. Through violence. Through whatever means are necessary." Nova leaned forward slightly. Her expression was curious rather than frightened. "Mr. Seo," she said. "Are you planning to kill people to protect us?" "I am planning to ensure your safety through the most efficient means available, which might include killing, which might include many things." The honesty was refreshing after hours of diplomatic deflection. He wouldn't lie to them about the reality of their situation. "How do we know we can trust you?" Amara asked. "You cannot know until you choose to trust. That's circular logic. Trust is always circular, not helpful, but accurate, Miss." Un rose from the table. "I will prepare tea," she said. She left them alone with their uncomfortable conversation. Three people negotiating the terms of protection and dependency. "Miss Brooks," Jamin said, "what concerns you most about this arrangement?" "Loss of autonomy. Specifically, being unable to make decisions about our own lives. What decisions do you want to make? Where we live, how we spend our time, who we speak with, when we leave. All reasonable desires, but not possible while we're here. Why not?" The question surprised her. She'd assumed that accepting protection meant surrendering decision-making authority. "Because you make the rules," she said. "I establish security parameters. You make choices within those parameters." "What's the difference?" "Parameters protect lives. Choices determine how those lives are lived." The distinction was subtle, but important. He was suggesting that autonomy was possible within security constraints. "Give me an example," she said. "You want to maintain your work schedule. Security parameters require that work be done from this location. Your choice is how to organize that work." "What if I want to visit friends?" "Security parameters require escort and advance notice. Your choice is which friends and when to visit." "What if I want to leave permanently?" "Your choice. But security parameters suggest waiting until the threat is resolved." The framework was more flexible than she'd expected. Restrictive but not imprisoning. Control shared rather than surrendered. "How do we negotiate these parameters?" she asked. "Through discussion. Between equals? Between people with shared interests in your survival. Not quite equals, then. Equality is less important than effectiveness." Miss Un returned with tea. Korean ceremony performed with efficient grace. The ritual created space for reflection. "Mr. Seo," Nova said, "what happens to Malik in all this?" "Malik faces consequences for choices he made." "What kind of consequences?" "The kind that convince him to leave you alone permanently. Violence? If necessary. Will you kill him?" Jamin studied Nova's face. Her directness seemed to intrigue him. "Would that disturb you?" he asked. "He hurt my sister. I don't care what happens to him." The cold calculation in her 16-year-old voice surprised everyone at the table. Nova had inherited survival instincts that prioritized protection over morality. "Violence is a tool," Jamin said. "Useful when applied correctly, counterproductive when used excessively. What's the correct application for Malik?" "Enough to ensure permanent compliance. And for Kang, enough to ensure he finds other ways to collect debts." The conversation was becoming too clinical, too comfortable with violence as a solution. Amara felt disturbed by how easily they were discussing harm to other people. "I don't want anyone killed on our behalf," she said, "even if killing them is the only way to guarantee your safety." "Even then." "Why?" "Because I don't want to be responsible for death." "You would not be responsible." "I would. It would still be our fault. Fault belongs to people who create dangerous situations, not to people who resolve them." His logic was unassailable but emotionally disturbing. Practical thinking that prioritized results over moral considerations. "Mr. Seo," she said, "I need a promise." "What kind of promise?" "That you won't kill anyone without discussing it with me first." "Even if delay increases risk to your safety?" Even then, he considered her request seriously, weighing moral preferences against practical necessities. "I cannot promise to prioritize discussion over immediate protection," he said, "but you can promise to avoid lethal force whenever possible. I can promise to use minimum necessary force in all situations." "Defined how?" "Defined by what ensures your survival with least collateral damage." The negotiation felt surreal, bargaining over levels of violence like contract terms, but it established boundaries for their protection. "I accept those terms," she said. "Good." Tea finished in comfortable silence. The conversation had established ground rules for their relationship. parameters within which autonomy could exist. Miss Un will show you the household schedule tomorrow, Jamin said. Work routines, meal times, security procedures. What about Nova's education? Tutors arrive Wednesday morning. Advanced placement programs to keep her on graduation schedule. I want to approve the tutors, of course, and the curriculum, reasonable, and the schedule, within security parameters. Everything came back to security parameters, but the framework felt negotiable rather than absolute. One more question, Amara said. Yes? Why are you doing this for us? Jamin was quiet for a long moment. His dark eyes found hers across the table. Because I failed to protect someone before, he said. I will not fail again. The honesty was painful, beautiful, built on loss that had shaped his entire approach to relationships. Your wife would approve of helping us? My wife would insist on it. The conversation felt complete. Understanding reached across cultural differences and circumstantial strangeness. They would stay. He would protect. Terms would be negotiated as situations demanded. Thank you, Amara said. For dinner, for explanation, for everything. Thank you for trusting me with your safety. They rose from the table together. Miss Un began clearing dishes with efficient movements. The evening was ending on notes of mutual respect. Miss Brooks, Jamin said. Yes? Sleep well. Tomorrow we begin establishing routines that work for everyone. Good night, Mr. CO. Good night. They walked back to their quarters, through corridors that felt less foreign now. Security cameras tracked their movement, but the observation felt protective rather than invasive. That went well, Nova said. Better than expected. He's not what I thought a Mafia boss would be like. What did you expect? Scarface, gold chains, obvious threats. Disappointed, relieved. They prepared for bed in their separate rooms. Luxury accommodations that still felt temporary despite the day's negotiations. Nova, Amara called. Yeah? Are you okay with all this? Are you? I asked first. I'm okay with being alive, Nova said. Everything else we can figure out as we go. Her sister's pragmatism was becoming their North Star. Survival first. Everything else negotiable. Amara settled into bed with Egyptian cotton sheets and down pillows, comfort that should have felt reassuring but somehow emphasized their displacement. Her new phone buzzed with a text message. Jamin's number on the screen. Security detail outside your quarters until 6 a.m. For peace of mind, not surveillance. Sleep well. The consideration surprised her. He was anticipating her concerns before she voiced them, making protection feel voluntary rather than imposed. Thank you, she replied. Tomorrow we establish routines that preserve your autonomy within necessary constraints. Looking forward to negotiations, as am I. The conversation ended on notes of mutual respect. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight they were safe, protected, free to rest without fear for the first time in months. Outside her window, a figure moved through the courtyard, security personnel maintaining watch over their voluntary sanctuary. Amara closed her eyes and let exhaustion claim her. Whatever happened next, tonight Nova was breathing easily in the next room. Tonight they were safe. Everything else could be negotiated in the morning. 6 weeks into their residence at the CO compound, Amara had established routines that felt almost normal. Morning work in the converted office space, lunch with Nova between her tutoring sessions, afternoon meetings with Jamin about business that had nothing to do with their protection. She was good at her job, better than good. Her organizational skills had streamlined 3 departments. Her insights had improved contract negotiations. Her presence had somehow made Jamin's business operations more efficient. The Chen Group merger documents, she said, sliding a folder across his desk. Final review complete. Issues? He asked. 2. Liability clauses need modification. Page 12 and 18. His dark eyes scanned the marked pages. Focus, complete, absolute. She'd learned to recognize his concentration patterns over 6 weeks of close proximity. Recommendations? He asked. Cap damages at 50 million. Exclude acts of war and government interference. Reasoning? Their insurance won't cover higher amounts. Force majeure protections are standard. He nodded once. Her legal insights had proven invaluable despite her lack of formal training. Approved. Draft the modifications. Already done. She handed him revised language. Ready for your signature. Efficient. I know how you work. The observation hung between them with implications neither acknowledged directly. 6 weeks of proximity had created understanding that felt dangerous. Miss Brooks, he said. Yes, you've exceeded my expectations. In what way? Sighed. Professional competence, adaptation to circumstances, partnership rather than dependence. Partnership. The word carried weight that made her chest tight. They weren't partners. She was his employee under his protection, but the distinction was blurring. Thank you, she said. I have a proposition. What kind of proposition? Permanent employment. After this, situation resolves. Salary increase, full benefits, partnership track. The offer was generous, unexpected. Exactly what she would have wanted 6 months ago. I don't understand, she said. You're the most competent assistant I've employed. I want to retain your services long term. As an assistant? As an associate, with advancement opportunities. Amara felt overwhelmed. The offer represented security she'd never imagined possible. Financial stability, career advancement. A future that looked nothing like the survival she'd been managing. I need to think about it, she said. Of course, but consider that some opportunities don't repeat. Is that a threat? It's realistic assessment. Talent like yours is rare. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nova. Calculus tutor says I'm ahead of schedule. Might graduate early. Good news that complicated everything. If Nova graduated early, their timeline for independence accelerated. Decisions about their future became more urgent. Mr. Seo, she said, what happens when Kang loses interest in collecting Malik's debts? You resume your normal lives. Where? Wherever you choose. Our apartment was compromised. Malik knows where we lived. I can arrange new housing, different neighborhood, better security. Under your oversight? Under your control. The distinction mattered. Control versus oversight determined whether they gained independence or simply changed the terms of dependency. What if I don't want to work for you permanently? She asked. Then you don't. Without consequences? Without professional consequences. Personal consequences depend on choices we make about our relationship. Personal relationship. Another phrase loaded with implications neither had addressed directly. We don't have a personal relationship, she said. Don't we? You're my employer. I'm your protected employee. Are those the only categories that define us? Amara's breath caught. The conversation was moving into territory she'd avoided for 6 weeks. Attraction that complicated everything. Interest that made professional boundaries meaningless. Yes, she said. I disagree. Mr. Seo, Jaemin. Mr. Seo, she continued firmly. Personal involvement would be inappropriate. Why? Power dynamics. Circumstantial pressure. The fact that you saved my life. Gratitude is not the same as affection. How can I tell the difference while I'm living in your house? How can you tell the difference anywhere? His logic was unassailable and irrelevant. Feelings developed in forced proximity weren't trustworthy. Attraction born from dependency couldn't be authentic. I should get back to work, she said. Should you? Yes. Because you want to? Or because you're uncomfortable with this conversation? Both. Honesty. I appreciate that. Mr. Seo, Jaemin. I'm not ready for personal conversations. When will you be ready? I don't know. An honest answer to a difficult question. He stood from his desk with fluid efficiency, movement that suggested the conversation was ending without resolution. Miss Brooks, he said. Yes? Take the afternoon off. Spend time with your sister. Think about the job offer. And the other matter? Think about that too. Nova was in their kitchen preparing an elaborate snack when Amara returned to their quarters. Celery sticks, peanut butter, precise portions calculated for optimal blood sugar management. How did the business meeting go? She asked. Complicated. Good, complicated, or bad, complicated? Both. Nova arranged food on plates with artistic precision. 16 years old and already displaying organizational skills that rivaled her sister's. He offered me a permanent job, Amara said. That's good news. Is it? Stable income, health insurance, career advancement. What's the downside? Continued involvement with someone whose business requires bulletproof windows. His business also provides excellent medical care and educational opportunities. Nova's pragmatism was becoming predictable. She evaluated everything through the lens of practical benefits rather than moral complications. "You like it here," Amara said. "I like being safe. I like having insulin that doesn't cost our rent money. I like tutors who actually know advanced mathematics. Those aren't reasons to stay permanently, aren't they? What about independence, privacy, the right to make our own choices? We make choices here, within parameters that keep us alive." Parameters. Everyone in this house used that word when they meant restrictions wrapped in diplomatic language. "Nova," she said, "do you want to go home?" "To what home? The apartment where Malik knew our address? The neighborhood where his friends watched my school? We could find a new place. With what money?" Mr. CO offered relocation assistance. "So we'd still be dependent on him. Temporarily. Everything here has been temporary for 6 weeks. Her sister's observation was uncomfortable, accurate. They'd been living in temporary quarters with temporary arrangements for weeks that were becoming permanent by default. "What do you want, Nova?" "I want to finish high school without worrying about diabetes supplies. I want to go to college without student debt. I want my sister to be happy. I'm happy. Are you?" The question hit deeper than expected. Amara considered her emotional state honestly. Fear had decreased. Stress had diminished, but happiness felt complicated. "I'm safe," she said. "That's not the same thing. It's enough for now." "Is it?" Nova's directness was becoming uncomfortable, 16-year-old insight that cut through adult rationalization. "What are you trying to say?" Amara asked. "I think you like him." "Who?" "Mr. Seo. He's my employer. He's also a man who looks at you differently than he looks at anyone else." Heat flooded Amara's face. She'd noticed Jamin's attention, the way his focus lingered when they worked together, the consideration behind his formal courtesy. "That's inappropriate," she said. "Why?" "Power dynamics, professional boundaries, the fact that we're living in his house under his protection." "So what?" "He's attractive, intelligent, and genuinely cares about your welfare. He cares about everyone's welfare under his protection. Does he offer everyone permanent job opportunities?" The question hit home. Jamin's interest in her professional development did seem personal, specific, beyond his general protective instincts. "That doesn't mean anything romantic," Amara said. "Doesn't it?" "Nova, I barely know him. You've spent 6 weeks working with him daily. You know how he thinks, how he makes decisions, how he treats people he cares about. I know his professional persona. Do you? Because I've seen him with Miss Un, with Minho, with household staff. He doesn't interact with them the way he interacts with you." The observation was uncomfortable because it was accurate. Jamin's attention to her felt different, more personal, more invested than his general protective authority. "It doesn't matter," she said. "Why not?" "Because relationships that start during crisis aren't real." "Says who?" "Trauma bonding isn't the same as genuine affection." "How do you know this is trauma bonding?" "How do you know it isn't?" Nova was quiet for a moment, considering the question seriously. Her emotional intelligence often surpassed her chronological age. "I know because of how you look at him," she said finally. "How do I look at him?" "Like you're trying not to care but failing." The accuracy was devastating. Amara had been fighting attraction for weeks, telling herself it was gratitude, circumstantial proximity, anything except genuine interest. "Even if that's true," she said, "acting on it would be mistake." "Why?" "Power imbalance. I'm dependent on him for housing, employment, protection. Consent becomes meaningless in that context. What if the dependence ended? What if you had other options?" "I don't have other options." "You could, if you wanted them." "How?" "Accept his job offer, establish financial independence, move out when Kang stops being a threat. Then see if attraction survives normal circumstances." The plan was logical, practical, a way to test feelings without compromising autonomy. But it required trusting that Jamin would allow her to gain genuine independence. "What if he doesn't want equal relationship?" she asked. "Then you'll know, and you'll make decisions based on reality instead of fear." Nova's wisdom was becoming uncomfortable. 16 years old and already understanding emotional dynamics better than her 29-year-old sister. "When did you get so smart about relationships?" Amara asked. "When I started watching how adults navigate complicated situations, by watching me make mistakes, by watching you survive them. The distinction mattered. Survival was different from thriving, different from making choices based on desire rather than necessity." "I'm scared," Amara said. "Of him? Of trusting someone with power over me again? He's not Malik. How can I be sure? Because Malik never offered you partnership. He demanded ownership." The difference was crucial, real. Malik had required submission. Jae-min requested cooperation. The distinction determined everything about potential relationship dynamics. "What if I'm wrong about him?" she asked. "What if you're wrong about yourself? Meaning, what if you're stronger than you think? What if you can handle complicated relationships without losing yourself?" The possibility was terrifying and appealing. Strength she'd never tested. Independence she'd never been allowed to develop. "Nova," she said, "what do you really think I should do? I think you should decide what you want instead of what you're afraid of. And if what I want is dangerous, then you'll handle the danger. Like you've handled everything else." Her sister's confidence was reassuring. Belief in capabilities Amara didn't know she possessed. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at the door. Miss Eun's voice called for permission to enter. "Come in," Amara said. The house manager appeared with her usual efficient courtesy, but something in her expression suggested urgency. "Miss Brooks," she said, "Mr. Seo requests your immediate presence in his office." "What's wrong?" "Information about the Kang situation, developments that require discussion." Fear shot through Amara's chest. 6 weeks of safety had made her forget that their protection was provisional, dependent on external circumstances beyond their control. "Is Nova safe?" she asked. "Completely safe. This concerns future planning. Good news or bad news?" "Mixed news. Mr. Seo will explain." Amara looked at Nova. Her sister nodded once. Encouragement and permission combined. "I'll be back soon," she said. "Take your time. Think about what we discussed." Jae-min was standing at his office window when she arrived. Back straight, hands clasped behind him. The position had become familiar over 6 weeks of proximity. "Miss Brooks," he said without turning. "Miss Eun said there were developments. Kang Dae-hyun was arrested this morning." Relief flooded her chest. The primary threat to their safety was neutralized. Nova could return to normal teenage life. "That's wonderful news," she said. "Yes and no. What's the problem?" "His arrest creates a power vacuum. Other organizations will move to claim his territory, including his debt collection operations." "Meaning?" "Meaning Malik's debts still exist. Someone else will inherit the obligation to collect them." The relief evaporated immediately. They weren't safe. They were simply facing different predators with unknown methods and motivations. "How long before someone takes over?" she asked. "Days. Possibly hours. So nothing has changed. Everything has changed. Kang was predictable. His successors are unknown variables." Jae-min turned from the window. His dark eyes found hers directly, expression serious but not alarmed. "What does this mean for our situation?" she asked. "It means we need to accelerate certain plans." "What plans?" "Your relocation, your independence, your future security." "I thought you wanted me to stay permanently." "I want you to have choices, real choices, not decisions forced by circumstances." The distinction was crucial. He was offering freedom, even though keeping them under his protection would be simpler for everyone involved. "What kind of choices?" she asked. "Relocation to secure housing under your control. Financial resources to establish genuine independence. Employment opportunities that don't require my oversight. And if I choose to stay? Then you stay because you want to, not because you have no alternatives." The offer was generous, unexpected. Everything she'd wanted but been afraid to ask for. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Because dependency is not the same as partnership." "And you want partnership?" "I want whatever relationship you choose when you have the freedom to choose." His honesty was overwhelming, beautiful, terrifying in its implications. "What if I choose to leave entirely? Then I will miss you, but I will respect your decision." "And Nova?" "Nova chooses her own path, with my support if she wants it." without interference if she doesn't. The conversation was moving beyond professional courtesy into personal territory she'd avoided for weeks. "Jaemin," she said, using his name deliberately. "Yes? What do you want from me?" "I want you to be happy, safe, free to make decisions based on your desires rather than your fears." "That's not an answer to my question, isn't it?" "You know what I'm asking." He was quiet for a long moment, considering how much truth to reveal, how much honesty their relationship could bear. "I want you to stay," he said finally. "I want to build something together that doesn't depend on protection or employment or circumstantial necessity." "What kind of something?" "The kind that grows between people who choose each other freely. A relationship. Yes, romantic relationship. Yes." The admission hung between them, like a contract waiting for signatures, truth that changed everything about their dynamic. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," she said. "Which is why you need genuine independence first." "So you're helping me leave in order to convince me to come back?" "I'm helping you leave so that coming back becomes a real choice instead of comfortable imprisonment." The strategy was counterintuitive, risky. Most people in his position would consolidate control rather than surrender it. "What if independence changes how I feel about you?" she asked. "Then I'll know my feelings were based on dependency rather than genuine affection. And if your feelings change, then you'll know the same." The logic was unassailable. Painful but accurate. Real relationships couldn't exist within power imbalances and artificial constraints. "How long would this independence test last?" she asked. "As long as necessary. Months? Years? However long it takes for both of us to know what we want. And during this time? During this time, you live your life. I live mine. We see if attraction survives normal circumstances." The plan was logical, mature, everything she should want, but somehow feared. "I'm terrified," she said. "Of independence? Of discovering that what I feel for you is just gratitude. And I'm terrified of discovering that what I feel for you is just protective instinct." The mutual vulnerability was reassuring. He was risking as much as she was. Emotional exposure that could end in rejection and loss. "When would this transition happen?" she asked. "Soon, within days. Kang's arrest accelerates everything. Have you found housing? 3 options, all secure, all under your complete control. Employment? 2, job offers. Both better than your previous salary. Neither connected to my business." The preparation was thorough, thoughtful. He'd been planning her independence before she'd been ready to consider it. "You've been working on this for weeks," she said. "Yes, without telling me. I wanted to present complete options rather than theoretical possibilities. That's manipulative. It's practical. Same thing sometimes, but motivation determines whether practicality becomes manipulation. What's your motivation? Your happiness and your own interests. My interests are served by your happiness." The circular logic was romantic and disturbing. His well-being connected to hers in ways that suggested emotional investment beyond professional concern. "Jaemin," she said. "Yes? I need time to think about all this." "How much time?" "Tonight. I'll give you an answer tomorrow." "What kind of answer?" "Whether I want to try independence. Whether I want to see if what's between us can survive normal circumstances. And if you decide against it, then we figure out how to maintain professional relationship without personal complications." "Is that possible?" "I don't know. We'll find out." He nodded once. Acceptance without pressure, respect for her decision-making process. "Miss Brooks," he said. Amara. "Whatever you decide, I want you to know something." "What?" "These 6 weeks with you and Nova in my home have been the happiest I've experienced since my wife died." The admission hit her chest like physical force, beautiful and terrifying in its implications. "Don't say things like that," she said. "Why not?" "Because they make it harder to think clearly. Clear thinking is overrated. Not when making life-changing decisions. Sometimes life-changing decisions require feeling as much as thinking." His honesty was overwhelming. She felt herself responding despite every rational warning against emotional involvement. "I should go," she said. "Yes." "But Amara?" "Yes. Whatever you decide tomorrow, tonight you're safe. Nova is safe. That won't change, regardless of your choice." Promise? Promise. The commitment was absolute, reassuring. He would maintain protection even if she chose to end their personal connection. Thank you, she said. For what? For giving me real choices instead of comfortable captivity. Thank you for being worth the risk. The conversation felt complete. Important truths shared. Difficult decisions identified. Tomorrow would bring resolution or complication. Jamin? Yes? What happened to your wife's killers? Something shifted in his expression, cold calculation that reminded her of his true nature. They learned that some mistakes are permanent, he said. You killed them. I ensured they could never repeat their error. Through violence, through justice. The distinction was important to him. Personal morality that separated revenge from protection. Will you do the same to whoever threatens us next? If necessary. Even if I ask you not to. I will consider your preferences, but your safety takes precedence over your moral comfort. The honesty was uncomfortable but reassuring. He would protect them even if protection required methods she couldn't approve. I understand, she said. Do you? I understand that you're a dangerous man who uses violence to solve problems. I also understand that sometimes dangerous men are the only protection against worse dangers. Can you accept that duality? I'm learning to. Good, because it's the foundation of any relationship with me. The warning was clear, fair. Relationship with him meant accepting moral compromises she'd never considered before. Tomorrow, she said. Tomorrow. She walked to the door with careful steps, mind racing through possibilities and implications. At the threshold, she turned back. Jamin? Yes? If I choose independence, will you wait for me? I will wait as long as hope remains reasonable. How long is that? However long it takes. The commitment was open-ended, romantic. Exactly what she wanted to hear and exactly what she feared to trust. Good night, she said. Good night, Amara. His use of her name felt intimate, personal, the beginning of something that could be beautiful or devastating. She returned to their quarters with decisions weighing on her shoulders. Nova was reading in the living area. Advanced calculus textbook open beside her chemistry homework. How did it go? She asked. Kang was arrested. That's good news. Someone else will take over his operations, including Malik's debts. So, we're still in danger. We're still protected. But the situation is changing. Nova closed her textbook. Her attention was complete now, focused on information that affected their future. What's changing? Jamin wants to give us genuine independence, housing under our control, jobs not connected to his business, real choices about our relationship. And you're worried about that because? Because I don't know if what I feel for him will survive normal circumstances. Only one way to find out, by risking everything we've built here. By building something real, instead of something convenient. Her sister's clarity was devastating, accurate in ways that cut through emotional confusion. What if I'm making a mistake? Amara asked. What if you're making the right choice for the wrong reasons? Such as, what if you're choosing safety because you're afraid to want something more? The possibility was uncomfortable. She'd spent so many years focused on survival that desire felt dangerous. Foreign. I don't know how to want things, she said. Then, it's time to learn. Nova's confidence was reassuring. 16 years old and already understanding desire better than her adult sister. What do you want, Nova? If we had real choices. I want to finish high school here. The tutors are amazing. I want to go to college on Mr. Seo's recommendation. I want you to be happy. That's all dependent on his continued goodwill. So is everything else in life. At least his goodwill comes with bulletproof windows and excellent medical care. The pragmatism was becoming predictable, but no less accurate. Security was always provisional. At least their current security came with genuine consideration. You think I should accept his offer? Amara said. I think you should accept the opportunity to find out what you really want. And if what I really want is him, then you'll know it's real because you chose it freely. And if what I really want is completely different, then you'll know that too. And you'll be free to pursue it. The logic was unassailable, painful but necessary. Real choices required real alternatives. I'm scared, she said. Good. Important decisions should be scary. What if I lose everything? What if you gain everything? Nova's optimism was infectious, dangerous. Exactly what Amara needed to hear and exactly what she feared to believe. "Tomorrow I have to give him an answer," she said. "What are you going to tell him?" "I don't know yet." "Yes, you do." "Do I? You've already decided?" "You're just afraid to admit it." Her sister's insight was uncomfortable because it was accurate. Deep down, Amara knew what she wanted. Fear was the only obstacle to acknowledgement. "What do you think I've decided?" "I think you're going to take the risk. Because you're braver than you know and you want more than survival." "How can you be sure?" "Because you're my sister. And my sister doesn't settle for safety when happiness is possible." The confidence was overwhelming, beautiful, terrifying in its implications. "Nova? Yeah? If this goes badly, if I make mistakes, if everything falls apart, then we'll figure it out together. Like we always do. Promise?" "Promise." The commitment was absolute, reassuring. Whatever happened tomorrow, they would face it together. Amara spent the night staring at the ceiling, weighing possibilities, considering outcomes, fighting between desire and fear. By morning, her decision was clear. The only question was whether she had the courage to act on it. Morning light filtered through bulletproof windows as Amara prepared for the conversation that would determine her future. She'd made her decision during the sleepless hours between midnight and dawn. Now she had to find the courage to voice it. Nova was already awake, organizing her school materials with typical efficiency. Advanced placement textbooks stacked beside her diabetes kit. Everything arranged for another day of accelerated learning. "Ready for the big conversation?" she asked. "As ready as I can be." "What are you going to tell him?" "That I want to try." "Try what exactly?" "Independence. Real choices. Seeing if what I feel for him survives normal circumstances." Nova smiled. The expression was proud and relieved simultaneously. "I think you're making the right choice," she said, "even if it means leaving all this security. Especially if it means leaving comfortable captivity for genuine freedom." Her sister's support was reassuring. 16 years old and already understanding that growth required risk. Amara's new phone buzzed with a text from Jamin. "Ready when you are. No pressure." The consideration was typical. He'd been careful not to push for quick decisions or easy answers. 10 minutes, she replied. "Take your time." She dressed carefully. Professional attire that suggested competence and independence. Clothing that said she was ready to negotiate as equals rather than grateful dependent. "Wish me luck," she said. "You don't need luck. You need courage. And you have plenty of that." Nova's confidence was infectious, dangerous, exactly what she needed to hear. Jamin was waiting in his office with documents spread across his desk. Housing contracts, employment offers, financial arrangements, everything needed to establish genuine independence. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning. Coffee, please." He poured 2 cups from the service Miss Un had prepared. Rich Korean blend that had become familiar over 6 weeks of morning meetings. "Sleep well?" he asked. "Hardly at all. Difficult decisions often disrupt sleep. Have you made any lately?" "Every day since you arrived in my home." The admission surprised her. She'd assumed his choices were easy, obvious, based on clear calculations rather than emotional uncertainty. "What kind of decisions?" she asked. "Whether to keep you safe or set you free, whether to pursue what I want or prioritize what you need. And your conclusions? That wanting you to stay and wanting you to be happy are not always the same thing." The honesty was beautiful, painful. Exactly what she'd hoped to hear, and exactly what made her decision more difficult. "Jamin," she said, "I've decided. Tell me. I want to try independence. I want to see if attraction survives normal circumstances. I want to know if what I feel for you is real, or just gratitude wrapped in proximity." Relief flickered across his features before professional composure returned. "All reasonable desires," he said. But separation will be difficult, for both of us." "How difficult?" "I will miss you every day. I will worry about your safety constantly. I will hope for your return while respecting your autonomy. And if I don't return, then I will be grateful for the time we had and proud of the woman you become." The commitment was absolute, romantic, everything she wanted without being possessive or controlling. "When would this transition happen?" she asked. "This week. Sooner, if you prefer." "So quickly?" Kang's arrest accelerated everything. His successors are consolidating power faster than anticipated. Are we in immediate danger? Not immediate. But extended delay increases risk exponentially. She nodded once. Practical considerations outweighing emotional preferences. Survival still took precedence over comfort. Show me the housing options, she said. He slid 3 folders across the desk, each containing photographs, floor plans, security assessments, and neighborhood information. Option 1, he said. Downtown loft, converted warehouse, excellent security, close to cultural amenities. The photographs showed exposed brick walls and soaring ceilings, urban sophistication that looked nothing like their previous apartment. Option 2, Koreatown townhouse. Traditional architecture, private courtyard, walking distance to Nova's preferred colleges. This space was elegant without being ostentatious. Comfortable family home with obvious security modifications. Option 3, Santa Monica apartment. Ocean views, luxury building, 24-hour security, beach proximity, and resort-like amenities. Expensive taste that suggested he wanted her to be comfortable even while gaining independence. These are all far above our previous standard of living, she said. Your previous standard was determined by financial limitation. That limitation no longer exists because you're paying for everything, because I'm investing in your future, our potential future. The distinction mattered. Investment suggested expectation of return, but his phrasing emphasized potential rather than certainty. What if there is no future between us? What if independence proves that what I feel is just circumstantial attraction? Then the investment was still worthwhile. Why? Because your happiness has value independent of my benefit. The romantic declaration hit her chest like physical force, beautiful and terrifying in its implications. You can't mean that, she said. Why not? Because no one invests in other people's happiness without expecting something in return. Perhaps your experience with men has been limited to those who require transactional relationships. The observation was accurate, uncomfortable. Every man in her adult life had demanded something in exchange for basic consideration. Malik certainly did, she said. I am not Malik. How can I be sure? By testing the difference through genuine independence. The circular logic was romantic and practical. He was offering proof through action rather than words. Which housing option do you recommend? She asked. The townhouse, close to educational opportunities for Nova. Established neighborhood with cultural familiarity. Best security without feeling fortress-like. Security provided by whom? Private company. Professional service. No connection to my organization. So, you wouldn't be watching over us? I would be available if you needed help. But I would not be monitoring your daily activities. The distinction was crucial. Available versus surveillance determined whether independence was real or illusory. What about employment? She asked. He slid 2 more folders across the desk. Corporate letterheads, salary information, benefit packages that exceeded her current compensation. Choice 1, administrative coordinator for Kim Industries, import-export business similar to mine. Excellent advancement opportunities. Choice 2, executive assistant to the mayor's chief of staff, city government position. Public service with political connections. Both options offered genuine career development. Neither created dependency on his continued goodwill. These positions aren't favors, she asked. These positions are earned. Your skills qualified you for both opportunities. Without your recommendation. My recommendation opened doors. Your competence will keep them open. The framework was reasonable, fair. Using influence to create opportunity rather than guarantee outcomes. What does Nova think about all this? He asked. She wants to finish high school here, with your tutors. But she supports whatever decision makes me happy. Smart girl. Inconveniently smart. How inconvenient. She sees through every rationalization I construct about relationships and attraction. For example, she says I've already fallen for you, but I'm afraid to admit it, because admitting it makes me vulnerable. Has she considered that vulnerability might be worth the risk? That's exactly what she said. I like your sister. She likes you too, which complicates everything. Why? Because Nova's approval matters to me, and her judgment about people is usually better than mine. What does her approval tell you? That you're probably safe to trust. But probably and definitely are different things. How can probably become definitely. Time, normal circumstances, relationship dynamics that aren't shaped by protection and dependency, all of which require independence. Yes, then, independence is the logical next step. Logic and emotion aren't always compatible. In this case, they seem aligned, do they? You want to know if your feelings are real. I want to know if mine are genuine. Independence is the only way to test both questions. His reasoning was unassailable, painful but accurate. Real relationships couldn't be built on artificial foundations. When do we start this experiment? She asked. Today, if you're ready. Today? Moving arrangements are complete. Employment starts Monday. Nova's tutoring can continue here until you decide otherwise. The preparation was thorough, overwhelming. He'd been planning her independence while she'd been debating whether to accept it. You've been working on this for weeks, she said. Yes, without telling me. I wanted to present complete options rather than theoretical possibilities. And if I'd chosen to stay permanently, then the preparations would have been unnecessary but not wasted. How not? Wasted? Because planning your independence taught me how much your freedom matters to me. More than keeping you close? More than anything. The declaration was exactly what she'd hoped to hear, and exactly what made leaving feel impossible. This is harder than I expected, she said. Leaving, wanting to stay, and knowing I should go, should, is a dangerous word in matters of the heart. What would you use instead? Choose, want, desire, need, but never should. What if what I choose hurts us both? Then we'll heal, and we'll know we tried. And if what I choose leads to happiness, then we'll know the risk was worthwhile. The optimism was infectious, dangerous, everything she wanted to believe about possibility and future. Jaemin, she said. Yes, I'm scared. Of independence? Of discovering that I love you. Why does that scare you? Because love makes me vulnerable, and vulnerable gets me hurt. Only if you love the wrong person. How do I know if you're the wrong person? By finding out who I am when I'm not protecting you. The honesty was beautiful, terrifying. He was acknowledging that protection changed relationship dynamics in ways that obscured authentic personality. What if you're different when you're not responsible for my safety? She asked. What if you're different when you're not dependent on my protection? Then we'll both learn something important about ourselves. Yes. And about each other. Yes. And maybe discover that what we feel is real. Maybe. The uncertainty was romantic and practical, honest acknowledgement that feelings developed in artificial circumstances might not survive normal reality. When do I move? She asked. This afternoon, if you're ready. So soon? Delay increases emotional difficulty without providing practical benefit. Like removing a bandage. Exactly. Quick and painful, instead of prolonged agony. Yes. She looked around his office. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, the framed photograph of his pregnant wife still occupying place of honor on his desk. Will you miss me? She asked. Every day. Will you contact me? Not unless you contact me first. What if I never contact you? Then I'll know you found what you were looking for elsewhere. And you'll be okay with that? I'll be heartbroken. But I'll respect your choice. The commitment was absolute, romantic. Everything she'd hoped for without being possessive or controlling. What if I contact you tomorrow and ask to come back? Then I'll know the experiment ended quickly, and you'll welcome me back? With open arms. What if I contact you in 6 months and say I want to try a real relationship? Then I'll know the experiment was successful. Either outcome is acceptable to you. Your happiness is acceptable to me. Everything else is negotiable. The declaration hit her chest like physical force. Beautiful and overwhelming in its implications. I need to tell Nova, she said. She already knows. How? Miss Yoon informed the household this morning. Nova requested to speak with me privately. Surprise and concern warred in her chest. Her sister conducting independent negotiations about their future. What did she say? That she approves of the independence plan, that she wants to continue her education here, that she trusts me to take care of you even from a distance. She said all that? She also said that if I hurt you, she'll find creative ways to make me regret it. She threatened you? She protected you. I respect that. Most men would be offended by a 16-year-old's threats. Most men don't understand family loyalty. The observation was accurate. Malik had resented Nova's importance in her life. Jae-min embraced it as natural and appropriate. "What did you tell her?" she asked. "That her sister's welfare is my highest priority. That distance won't change my commitment to your safety. That she's welcome in my home for as long as she chooses." And she was satisfied with that? She negotiated terms. What terms? "Weekly dinners, here, both of you, until you decide otherwise." She negotiated date nights? She negotiated family time. There's a difference. The distinction mattered. Family time suggested ongoing relationship without romantic pressure, opportunity for connection without commitment. And you agreed? I agreed. Why? Because seeing you once a week is better than not seeing you at all. And because Nova's approval is important. Yes, smart man, smart girl, taught me that family. Loyalty is non-negotiable. The conversation was reaching natural conclusion. Decisions made, plans established. Future determined through mutual agreement rather than unilateral authority. "This afternoon," she said. "This afternoon. And then we see what happens. Then we see what develops naturally instead of what circumstance forced. I'm terrified. So am I." Good. Important changes should be terrifying. Nova's wisdom. Nova's wisdom. He stood from his desk with fluid efficiency. Movement that suggested their meeting was ending without finality. "Amara," he said. "Yes? Whatever happens in the coming weeks or months, I want you to know something." "What?" "These 6 weeks with you in my home have been the happiest of my adult life." "Don't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because they make leaving impossible." "Nothing makes leaving impossible. Everything makes leaving difficult." "Is there a difference?" "Impossible means no choice. Difficult means choosing despite emotional cost." "And you think I should choose despite the cost?" "I think you should choose because the potential reward justifies the risk." "What reward?" "Discovering what we could become if we chose each other freely." The possibility was beautiful, terrifying. Everything she wanted and everything she feared to want. "See you Sunday for dinner?" she asked. "See you Sunday. And Jae-min?" "Yes." "Thank you. For everything. For protection. For choices. For letting me go. Thank you for being worth the risk of letting go." Moving day proceeded with Korean efficiency. Professional movers packed their belongings with careful precision. Transport arranged. New housing prepared. Independence established through competent logistics. Nova supervised the process with teenage authority, directing placement of her medical supplies, ensuring her educational materials were properly packed, managing details with typical organizational skill. "Excited?" Amara asked. "Nervous, but good, nervous." "About the new place?" "About you finally choosing what you want instead of what you think you should want." Her sister's clarity was becoming predictable but no less accurate. Fear had been replaced by anticipation. Anxiety transformed into excitement. The townhouse was everything the photographs had promised. Elegant architecture, private courtyard, security that felt protective rather than restrictive. Home rather than fortress. "This is amazing," Nova said, exploring the kitchen with obvious delight. Gas range. Double oven. Enough counter space to actually cook. "You don't cook. I might start." "When you're happy, I feel domestic." "I'm not happy yet, but you're choosing happiness over safety." That's progress. The observation was accurate. For 6 weeks, she'd prioritized security over desire. Today, she was prioritizing possibility over certainty. "What if this is a mistake?" she asked. "Then you'll learn from it and make better choices next time." "What if there is no next time?" "Then this time will be worth the risk." Nova's optimism was infectious. 16 years old, and already understanding that regret for chances not taken was worse than regret for choices that didn't work out. They spent the afternoon arranging furniture and personalizing their new space. Familiar belongings in unfamiliar surroundings, home constructed through intention rather than circumstance. As evening approached, Amara felt the full weight of her decision. For the first time in 6 weeks, they were alone. Unprotected except by private security she'd never met. Independent in ways that felt both liberating and terrifying. "First night of freedom," Nova said. "First night of uncertainty." Same thing sometimes. Are you okay with all this? Are you? I asked first. I'm okay with you choosing courage over comfort, even if courage leads to heartbreak? Especially if courage leads to heartbreak, because that means you cared enough to risk something important. Her sister's wisdom was uncomfortable because it was accurate. Heartbreak was evidence of investment, proof that feelings were real rather than convenient. Nova, yeah? What if I've made a terrible mistake? Then Sunday dinner will be really interesting. That's not reassuring. It's honest, which is more important than reassuring. Evening settled over their new home with quiet domesticity. Take-out dinner eaten at their own table. Television watched on their own couch. Normal life resumed after weeks of beautiful captivity. Amara's phone stayed silent. No texts from Jae-min. No calls from Miss Un. No contact from the world they'd left behind. Respect for her independence or evidence that she'd already been forgotten. Missing him yet? Nova asked. It's been 4 hours. That's not an answer. Yes. I'm missing him. Good. How is that good? Because missing someone means you care about them. Caring about someone means the relationship matters. And if the relationship matters, then Sunday dinner becomes the first step toward building something real. The possibility was beautiful, terrifying, everything she wanted and everything she feared to hope for. What if he's not missing me? He's missing you. How can you be sure? Because he looked at you the way you look at him. How do I look at him? Like you're trying not to care but failing completely. The accuracy was devastating, beautiful, evidence that what she felt was obvious to everyone except herself. I'm scared, she said. Good. Important things should be scary. What if Sunday is awkward? What if Sunday is perfect? Then I'll know this risk was worth taking. Either way, you'll know something you didn't know before. And knowledge is better than uncertainty. Knowledge is better than wondering what might have been. Nova's logic was unassailable, painful but accurate. Action was better than regret. They prepared for bed in their new home with careful routines, familiar rituals in unfamiliar space, comfort constructed through intention rather than circumstance. Nova? Amara called from her new bedroom. Yeah? Thank you. For what? For supporting my choice, even when it meant leaving luxury for uncertainty. Thank you for choosing what you want instead of what's safe. How do you know it's what I want? Because you're my sister, and my sister doesn't settle for comfortable captivity when real happiness is possible. The confidence was overwhelming, beautiful. Exactly what she needed to hear before facing her first night of genuine independence. Sunday arrived with Pacific Ocean fog and nervous anticipation. Amara changed clothes 3 times before settling on casual elegance that suggested confidence she didn't feel. Ready? Nova asked. Terrified. Good, terrified, or bad terrified? Excited, terrified. The best kind. They drove through Koreatown streets that felt familiar and foreign simultaneously. 3 days of independence had changed her perspective. The neighborhood looked the same but felt different. The CO residence appeared unchanged. Iron gates, stone pillars, mature landscaping that created privacy without feeling fortress-like. Home they'd left by choice, rather than necessity. Minho met them at the entrance with professional courtesy that suggested nothing had changed. Same suit, same alert posture, same protective authority. Miss Brooks, Miss Nova, he said. Welcome back. Thank you. Mr. CO is waiting in the main dining room, not his private office. Family dinner requires family space. Family. The word still felt foreign but increasingly natural. They weren't family by blood or law, but they were family by choice and circumstance. Miss Un greeted them in the corridor with maternal warmth that seemed genuine rather than professional. How is the new house? She asked. Beautiful. Thank you for all the arrangements. Mr. CO wanted everything perfect. It is. And you are happy with independence? The question was personal, important. Answer that would be reported to Jae-min, whether she intended it or not. I'm learning what happiness looks like without protection, she said. Good answer, honest answer. They entered the main dining room together, elegant space designed for family rather than business. Warm lighting that suggested intimacy without formality. Jae-min stood at the window overlooking the courtyard. Same position, same posture, but something in his presence felt different, more personal. Less employer and more man who had missed her. Amara. Nova, he said, turning toward them. Jae-min. The use of his given name felt natural now. Personal connection established through choice rather than circumstance. How was your first week of independence? He asked. Terrifying and wonderful. In that order? Simultaneously. The best kind of experience. Nova's wisdom, universal truth. They took seats around the table with comfortable familiarity. Three people who had become family through crisis and choice. The townhouse meets your needs? He asked. Exceeds them. Thank you. Nova, how are you adjusting? I love having my own space, but I miss Miss Eun's cooking. Miss Eun misses cooking for appreciative teenagers. The gentle humor felt natural. Family conversation rather than formal courtesy. They had become something beyond employer and employee. How is work? He asked Amara. Challenging. Interesting. My supervisor seems impressed with my skills. I am not surprised. Are you keeping track of my performance? I am hoping for your success. Those aren't the same thing. No, but both are true. The honesty was reassuring. He cared about her professional development without monitoring her daily activities. What about personal life? He asked. Are you meeting people? Making friends? The question felt loaded with implications neither acknowledged directly. Was she dating? Finding romantic alternatives? Moving beyond attraction that might be circumstantial? I'm focusing on independence first, she said. Wise approach. Is it? Independence before attachment ensures that attachment is choice rather than dependency. And when independence is established, then attachment becomes possible. With anyone? With someone worthy of independent choice. The conversation was becoming too personal for family dinner, too intimate for public space, but neither seemed willing to step back from honesty. Mr. Seo, Nova said. Amara's been moping all week. Nova, Amara said quickly. She pretends to be happy with freedom, but she checks her phone every 5 minutes, hoping for texts that never come. Heat flooded Amara's face. Her sister's directness was becoming inconvenient. Embarrassing in its accuracy. Interesting information, Jae-min said. Very interesting, Nova agreed. She's also been cooking elaborate meals for 2 people, even though only 2 people live in the house. Perhaps she enjoys cooking. She hates cooking. But she makes dinner every night and sets 2 extra place settings. Nova, stop, Amara said. I'm helping, Nova said innocently. You're embarrassing me. Good. Embarrassment means you care about his opinion. This is not appropriate dinner conversation. Family dinners are exactly where inappropriate conversations belong. Jae-min watched the sisterly exchange with obvious amusement. His expression was warm, fond, exactly what she'd hoped to see, and exactly what made her heart ache with possibility. Miss Nova, he said, your sister's habits are her own business, but you're glad to know about them. I am glad to know she thinks of us. She thinks about you constantly. Nova, Amara said firmly, it's true. And since you're both too polite to say what you're actually thinking, someone has to be honest. What are we actually thinking? Jae-min asked. That you miss each other. That independence is harder than expected. That maybe some risks are worth taking. The accuracy was devastating. Beautiful. Everything she'd been thinking but hadn't been brave enough to voice. Is that accurate? He asked Amara. Partially. Which parts? Missing you is definitely accurate. And the rest? Independence is exactly as hard as I expected. Which makes it worthwhile. How so? Because I'm learning that missing you has nothing to do with gratitude or dependency. What does it have to do with? Genuine affection for who you are when you're not protecting me. And who am I when I'm not protecting you? Someone I want to spend time with by choice rather than necessity. The admission hung between them like a bridge across uncertain territory. Truth that changed everything about their dynamic. Amara, he said. Yes, I have missed you every moment since you left. Good missing or bad missing. The kind that confirms what I feel is real rather than circumstantial. How can you be sure? Because I miss your voice more than your presence. Your thoughts more than your gratitude. Your partnership more than your dependence. Those sound like real feelings. They are real feelings. What do we do about real feelings? We acknowledge them, honor them, build on them carefully. How carefully? At whatever pace preserves their authenticity. And if authentic pace is slow, then we move slowly. And if authentic pace is fast, then we move quickly. How do we know which pace is authentic? By paying attention to our hearts instead of our fears. The philosophy was beautiful, romantic. Everything she wanted to believe about possibility and future. "Jae-min," she said. "Yes? Would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow? Just the two of us? As people choosing to spend time together? I would like that very much. At my place? I'll cook. You hate cooking. Nova's been eavesdropping. Efficiently. Will you come anyway?" "Yes, even though the food might be terrible? Especially because you'll cook it despite hating to cook." "Why especially?" "Because that means you want to take care of me, and I want you to want that." The romantic declaration hit her chest like physical force, beautiful and overwhelming in its implications. 7 o'clock? She asked. 7 o'clock. And Nova? Will be studying here with her tutors until 8:30. Convenient. Planned. You arranged this whole conversation. I arranged the opportunity. You made the choices. All three of us made choices, Nova said. I chose to be helpful. By embarrassing me? By providing the excuse you needed to do what you wanted anyway. Her sister's insight was uncomfortable because it was accurate. She'd wanted to invite him to dinner but hadn't been brave enough to act on desire. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For giving me permission to want something." "You don't need permission. You never needed permission. You just needed courage." "Same thing sometimes." "No. Permission comes from outside. Courage comes from inside." "Where did you learn the difference?" "From watching my sister survive impossible situations through internal strength." The compliment was unexpected, beautiful. Evidence that her survival had taught Nova lessons about resilience and self-determination. "Tomorrow night," Jaemin said. "Tomorrow night. Our first real date. Is that what this is? Two people choosing to spend time together without external pressure. What would you call it?" "Terrifying. Also romantic. Also romantic." The conversation felt complete. Important decisions made through mutual choice rather than circumstance or necessity. Dinner proceeded with comfortable family atmosphere, shared stories, gentle humor, connection that felt natural rather than forced. As the evening ended, they prepared for another separation. Temporary this time, chosen rather than imposed. "Thank you for dinner," Amara said, "for family time, for making this transition easier. Thank you for choosing to maintain connection despite independence. Some connections are worth preserving. Some connections become stronger through voluntary choice. We'll find out tomorrow night." "We will." "Nervous?" "Terrified." "Good terrified. The best kind." Minho drove them home through Sunday evening traffic. Same route, same destination. But everything felt different because they were choosing it rather than accepting it. "That went well," Nova said. "Better than expected. He's definitely missing you." "How can you tell?" "He asked about your personal life. He arranged for me to be busy tomorrow night. He looked at you the way you look at him." "How do I look at him?" "Like you're falling in love but afraid to admit it." "And how does he look at me?" "Like he's already fallen but waiting for you to catch up." The accuracy was beautiful. Terrifying. Everything she'd hoped for and everything she'd been afraid to acknowledge. "What if tomorrow night proves that what we feel is real?" she asked. "Then you'll have to decide what to do about real feelings. And if it proves the feelings are just proximity and gratitude, then you'll know that too, and you can make decisions based on reality instead of hope. Either way, I'll know more than I know tonight." "Exactly. Knowledge is better than uncertainty. Always." They arrived at the townhouse as fog rolled in from the Pacific. Evening mist that softened streetlights and created atmosphere of romantic possibility. "One more day," Nova said. "One more day. Are you ready?" "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." That's the point of courage, acting despite uncertainty. When did you get so wise about courage? When my sister started demonstrating it daily. The compliment hit deeper than expected. Beautiful acknowledgement that her choices were teaching Nova lessons about strength and self-determination. "Tomorrow night," she said, "tomorrow night you find out what you really want. What if what I really want is him? Then you'll know the risk was worth taking. And if what I really want is completely different, then you'll know that too. Either way, I'll know. Either way, you'll know." The certainty was comforting. terrifying. Everything she needed to face the most important evening of her adult life. 6 months later, morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows of the house they'd chosen together. Not his residence. Not her townhouse. Their home. Space they'd selected and furnished as equal partners. Amara moved efficiently between stove and counter, preparing breakfast with skills she'd actually developed over 6 months of wanting to take care of someone she loved. Nova sat at the island reviewing college acceptance letters with obvious satisfaction. "Stanford?" Jamin asked, reading over her shoulder. "Full scholarship? Pre-med program. Impressive. Your recommendation letter helped. Your grades earned it. Both can be true." Nova's wisdom had only grown sharper with age. And security. 17 years old, and already understanding that success came through combination of opportunity and effort. "What about you?" she asked Amara. "Partner track meeting today?" "This afternoon. Final presentation to the board." Nervous, excited, good excited, or terrified excited. The best kind. 6 months of genuine independence had taught her the difference between fear and anticipation, challenge and threat, growth and survival. Jamin wrapped his arms around her waist from behind. Casual intimacy that felt natural after months of choosing each other daily. "Ready for your presentation?" he asked. "Ready to find out if I get the partnership." "You'll get it. How can you be sure?" "Because you're the most competent person I know, and competence always succeeds given sufficient opportunity." Sufficient opportunity provided by whom? By people smart enough to recognize talent when they see it. The confidence was reassuring, based on months of watching her professional development, independent of his influence. "What if I don't get it?" "Then you look for opportunities that deserve your skills, with your support, with my complete support. Even if support means relocating to another city? Even then, you'd leave your business for my career? I'd follow you anywhere you want to build a life." The commitment was absolute, romantic. Everything she'd dreamed of, and everything she'd learned to trust through months of consistent demonstration. "What about your obligations here?" "My obligations are to you. Everything else is business. Business that supports dozens of people. Business that can be managed from anywhere I have internet access." The flexibility was real, tested through months of travel and remote management. His authority wasn't location dependent. "Nova," he said, "what's your preference for college proximity?" "I want to go where the best pre-med program accepts me. Geography is secondary to education quality." "Stanford it is then, unless Harvard changes their mind about my waitlist status." "Either choice is excellent. Either choice means leaving Los Angeles, temporarily. You'd move to Boston if she chooses Harvard?" "I'd move anywhere that keeps our family together." Family. The word had evolved over 6 months from description to commitment. They weren't family by law yet, but they were family by choice and daily action. "Our family," Amara repeated. "Our family. When did that become official? When you stopped correcting people who assumed we were married." "When did I stop correcting them?" 3 months ago, when the bank officer asked about joint accounts, and I said yes automatically, and I said yes automatically, without discussing it first, without needing to discuss it first. The progression had felt natural, inevitable, choice made through accumulated trust rather than dramatic decision. "Speaking of which," he said. "Which what?" "Joint decisions made automatically." He pulled a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. Simple, elegant. Obviously expensive without being ostentatious. "Jamin," she said. "Amara, what is that? What does it look like?" "It looks like a ring box." "Because it is a ring box." "Why do you have a ring box?" "Because I want to ask you a question." "What question?" "The question I've wanted to ask for 3 months, but waited until you were ready to hear it." "How do you know I'm ready to hear it?" "Because you just said our family without hesitation. That's your measure of readiness?" "That's my measure of commitment that exists independent of legal recognition." Nova looked up from her college letters with obvious amusement. "Are you going to propose at the breakfast table?" she asked. "I'm going to propose wherever feels natural," he said. "And this feels natural. This feels perfect. Why?" "Because family is where proposals belong." He opened the box with careful precision. Inside was a solitaire diamond that caught morning light and threw it back in brilliant fragments. "Amara Brooks," he said, "will you marry me?" The question hung in the air like sunlight. Beautiful, inevitable. Everything she'd wanted and everything she'd learned to believe possible. "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Yes. Yes. Why yes? Because 6 months of independence taught me that what I feel for you is real. Because choosing you daily feels natural. Because I can't imagine building a future that doesn't include both of you. Both of us? You and Nova. Package deal. Family by choice and law. Legal adoption. If she wants it. Do you want it?" he asked Nova. "I want whatever makes us officially family." "Then family it is." He slipped the ring onto her finger with careful precision. Perfect fit that suggested months of planning and attention to detail. "When?" she asked. "When what? When do we get married? When do you want to get married?" "Tomorrow, next year, whenever feels right." "What feels right to you?" "Soon, but not rushed. Planned, but not elaborate. Family celebration rather than social event. Summer? Spring? Before Nova leaves for college." "Definitely before Nova leaves for college." "Then spring it is." The timeline felt perfect, reasonable. Enough time to plan properly, but not so much time that anticipation became anxiety. "One condition," she said. "What condition?" "Miss Un plans the wedding. She'll be delighted. And Minho walks me down the aisle. He'll be honored. And we honeymoon somewhere without bulletproof windows. Deal. And Nova comes with us. Family honeymoon?" "Family honeymoon. Unconventional but perfect. Everything about us is unconventional. Everything about us is perfect." The declarations felt true, accurate, built on months of testing and proving and choosing each other through ordinary circumstances. "I love you," she said. "I love you too. Both of you," she added, looking at Nova. "Both of you," Nova agreed. "This family thing is going to be interesting. The best kind of interesting. Are you sure you're ready for legal sisterhood with a 17-year-old know-it-all?" "I'm ready for whatever comes with loving both of you. Even when I give unsolicited relationship advice? Especially then. Your advice got us this far." "True. I'm very wise. And very modest. Modesty is overrated. Unlike wisdom. Unlike wisdom." They finished breakfast as an engaged family. Comfortable conversation, shared planning, future built on foundation of tested trust and daily choice. "Work calls," Amara said. "Partnership presentation calls," Jamin corrected. "Same thing. Better thing. We'll see. We'll celebrate tonight regardless of outcome. Promise?" "Promise." She kissed him goodbye with casual intimacy that felt like the most natural thing in the world. Love expressed through ordinary gesture rather than dramatic declaration. "See you tonight," she said. "See you tonight, fiancé. I like the sound of that. So do I." Nova gathered her college materials with typical efficiency, 17 years old and already planning her future with characteristic determination. "Proud of you," she said to Amara. "For what?" "For choosing happiness over safety. For building something real instead of accepting something convenient. I had a good teacher. You had good instincts. You just needed courage to trust them. Same thing sometimes. Sometimes." They left for their respective destinations with family routine that felt both new and established. Daily life built on foundation of trust and choice and love. Amara drove toward her presentation with engagement ring catching sunlight on the steering wheel. Physical reminder of commitment that felt both momentous and natural. 6 months ago, she'd been surviving. Today, she was thriving. Tomorrow, she'd be building a future with people she'd chosen and who had chosen her in return. The difference was everything. At the stoplight, she looked at the ring again. Diamond that caught morning light and threw it back in brilliant promise. Symbol of love that had survived independence and grown stronger through freedom. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jamin. "Good luck with the presentation. You'll be brilliant. Thank you. See you tonight." "See you tonight, future wife." The words made her heart race with anticipation. Future wife. Legal recognition of emotional reality they'd been building for months. She pulled into the parking garage of her office building with confidence that felt both earned and natural. Partnership presentation that would determine her professional future. But regardless of outcome, her personal future was secure. Love had made the difference. Real love. Chosen love. Love built on trust and respect, and daily decision to prioritize each other's happiness. Everything else was just details. She looked at her ring one more time before walking toward her future. Diamond that caught fluorescent light and promised everything she'd ever wanted. Safety, love, family, home. At last, she was finally home.